tabaye ubwoko mwibuke ibibazo yasanze abirwanaho banyanyagiye hose badafite icerekezo kimwe badafite n'intego imwe arabegeranya abaha icerekezo bose bafata icerekezo kimwe n'intego imwe yubaka twirwaneho yumva twese ico turwanira cyo kubaho kwacu duhuje umutima bose babihuriyeho kuva mu Rurambo kugeza mu Rugezi na za Bibogobogo n'ahandi hose. Leta nationale yasanze umunyamurenge kw'isi ntamwe wamuhaga ibyiringiro byo kubaho, ariko umunsi yahagaze mu misozi y'Umurenge atabaye aho umunyamurenge yari ari hose kw'isi, yumvise icizere ko hari ugiye guhagarika inkota iri ku bwoko bwacu, bituma ibitekerezo byacu twese bihurizwa muri Makanika. Rero leta na general ni umugabo wazamutse gutabara, twese turibuka nkuko bamaze kubivuga ntaco yari afite mu ntoki ze, ariko akoresha ubwenge bwe n'ubuhanga bwe, inkoni z'umwanzi zisanga mu maboko ye abarizo abakubitisha umwanzi. Twese turabizi ubwoko bwacu turi mu kaga gakomeye, imyaka 9 irashize twicwa buri munsi tuzira uko dusa, tuzira uko twaremwe. Niki dusabwa rero gukora? Nimba dufite umutima w'ishaka no gukunda ubwoko bwacu, tidushobora kubutererana mu bibazo nk'ibi. Ikibazo cy'ubwoko ukugira icawe. Umunyamurenge ni wewe, umunyamurenge ni jewe. Twishire umwanya wasigaye mu gihugu barishwa buri munsi, tubabarane nabo, tubabazwe n'ubwicanyi leta yacu dukorera, ndetse na leta y'u Burundi yaje gufasha leta ya Kongo kwica abaturage bayo, abaturage bo mu bwoko bw'abatutsi muri rusange. Rero nshuti, ubwoko bwacu tumaze imyaka 9 dutakirisi, isi yose twaratabaje, dukomeje no gutabaza, ijwi ryacu ntibashaka kuryumva. Ubwoko bwacu duhaguruke twakirane uyu mutwaro w'intambara batwikoreje. Abantu bamwe ntibakirana imitwaro, tibatabara, bashaka kwirebaho gusa, abanyamwigendaho, abandi bakagira ubwoba bw'ubuzima, bagatinya no gutanga umusanzu. Ukanguke, tubyuke, duhaguruke rimwe twese. Isi ntidukunda, twirwaneho. Niyo ntego y'uyu munsi, twirwaneho tudashira, twiha agaciro, twitange, dutange umwanya wacu, dutange ubushobozi dufite bwose. Ndahamya neza ko imbaraga dufite turakoresha na 30%. Duhaguruke rimwe twese, intambara yarangira vuba. Nimba duhagurukiye rimwe twese, twashiraho iherezo. Nta bandi dutegereje bazadutabara, niko twenyine. Turi kumwe n'Imana yacu, nubwo yatinda amaherezo bizadutabara. Harakabaho abanyamurenge, harakabaho kwirwanaho kwacu. Murakoze.
Arakoze Perezida Steve, ukoresheje umwanya neza. Ndagira ngo n'abandi baza gukurikiraho tuze twese gukoresha umwanya twihuta. Hari ubundi busobanuro yasize nyakwigendera, yavuze intwari ngo ni ugukora ico umuntu wese akagombye ashoboye gukora ariko atahayakora. Ni ukuvuga ngo ibyo yakoze hari n'abandi babikora ariko badakora. Twinjira rero nanone mu ciciro kindi gikurikira. Twahagurukije umuryango umwe, ariko murabizi ko twabuze intwari nyinshi zagiye mu bihe bitandukanye. Ndagira ngo duse nk'abumva amateka ku bukeya, impfu zacu kugeza kuri uriya mukecuru mwabonye ejo bundi w'imyaka 90 wazize nawe kuko gusa ari umunyamurenge. Ndagira ngo duhereze umwanya umushakashatsi Mzee David Banoge aze hano tugezeho ijambo yaduteguriye uyu munsi wa none.
byiza kugira ngo message dutanga n'abandi babice ko nimbabaye sinzi
Rusengo
cyasobanura.
Desire Rusengo win.
Mu bisanzwe umuntu wese wavutse azapfa.
Usually everyone will die at some point.
Ariko hejuru yuko ko dufite iyo deni ko tuzopfa kubera ko twavutse, abanyamurenge twagira izindi mpfu zacu twihariye twenyine.
But even though everyone will die, but us Banyamulenge have a particularity in the way we die.
Izo mpfu rero nuko dupfa tuzira uko Imana yaturemye.
The kind of death that we die are because of who we are.
Nizo ziriya mpfu zose tuzi muzamwumva hano. Dufite abasaza bazibonye, abatarazibonye nabo barazibwiwe. Izo zose twahuye nazo twazize yuko Imana yatugize uko tumeze ubu.
So all of the death that we've been hearing about from the elders to the current generations, this is all because of how God created us.
Donc tuzi abantu bacu bapfuye bamwe twebwe tutarabaho.
There are people who were killed before I myself was alive.
Muzi za massacre zabaye muri 64 na gatandatu.
You've heard about the massacres in 1964.
Abapfuye kuri Kirumba, abapfuye ku Gatongo,
those who were killed in Kirumba and Gatongo,
abapfuye mu Kirambo,
those who were killed in Kirambo,
abapfuye ku Munanira,
those who were killed in Munanira,
abapfuye mu Mutambara,
those who were killed in Mutambara,
abapfuye mu Minembwe barimo bakarani, abapfuye Inganji barimo barusimbi,
those who were killed in Minembwe and Ganji.
Abo bose bishwe kubera uko Imana yabaremye.
All of those were killed because of who they were.
Hakaba rero abandi indi kategori ya kabiri kuri abo ngabo ni abapfuye bahaye barwana ngo tureke gushira.
And the second category are those who were killed while fighting so that we can survive.
Nyuma yo kubona twicwa kubera uko Imana yaturemye,
after we've seen that we're being killed for what God created us for.
Bari abantu baguye ibaraka amagana nta kindi bazize nuko Imana yabaremye.
Those who were killed in Baraka were killed because
abaguye mu Kamanyura nta kindi bazize nuko Imana yabaremye.
Similarly, those who were killed in Kamanyola,
abaguye Kalemi, abaguye muri Byura nta kindi bazize nuko Imana yabaremye.
in Kalemi, in Vyura, all of those were killed because of how God created them.
ariko icyaduteranije uno munsi ni abapfuye bahaye banga ko abantu bashira.
But we are gathered here to remember those who stood up and to fight so that we could survive.
Ni ukuvuga rero nizo ntwari zacu.
Those are the heroes that we're speaking of.
Izo ntwari zacu zose zibumbiye muri Lieutenant General Michel Rukunda.
So all of those fallen heroes, we see them through Rukunda Michel.
Duhaye tumuvuga rero tuba tuvuga bariya bose bapfuye bahaye bashaka kurenganura ubwoko.
So when we speak about Rukunda Michel, we're speaking about everyone who died along side while fighting so that we could survive.
Aba rero bapfuye bamaze kubona ko tugiye gushira twababumbiye, bavuze ijambo ryiza cyane ngo babumbiye muri Michel, nibo no munsi baduteranije hano, tutibagiwe ko bahagurukijwe n'ari amasakire yose tumaze kuvuga.
So we're here to remember all of those who stood up, and even the Burundian says that we're here to confront those who were brought here in the same goal to fight for themselves.
Navuze ngo sinturuka kure cyane, ndafata amateka magufi yo muri 1994 mu kwezi k'umunani n'ukwezi kw'icenda, ibyo bise komisiyo mvango.
So I'm not going to go too far. I'm going to focus for the events that happened in 1964, what's referred to a convention of Vangu.
Bamwe muri mwebwe bari bahari,
Some of you were alive at the time,
abandi byenda barabyumvishije.
and others heard about it.
Icyatumye mfata iyo evenement ukubera iki?
Why am I choosing this particular event?
Icyatumye mfata iyo evenement nuko ibyavuyemo, recommendation zavuyemo zisa n'intambara de turwana no munsi.
This particular event, I'm referring to it because the outcome of that event is what we're fighting.
Komisiyo mvango yabaye constituée bayituma muri Nord na Sud Kivu kuza kumenya ibibazo bihari nyuma y'intera hamwe XFR fraude buzimaze kwiverse hari hakurya iwacu imiliyoni n'imiliyoni.
Because from that convention or that event, Vangu, people were sent to come to study the areas in North Kivu and South Kivu after the genocide. Hamwe were in the area.
Muzosoma iyo komisiyo waba ushaka kumenya amakuru yayo ni kuva ku ipaji ya 45 kugeza ku 120 ndagira ngo ni document hari y'igifaransa bazasoma igifaransa.
So I refer you to read the document which described everything that happened.
Ubwo baraje babona amakushe yose amoko yose.
So the people who were sent came and visited everyone.
Ariko cyantangaje muri iyo nakuyemo amajambo atatu yantangaje gushika ubu nyine cucatumye mvuga ngo niyo nibara tubanka bavuga bukeye.
So there are a few things that surprised me because, and I'm going to come back to it.
Abapfurero, ababembe, abavira ndetse n'abashi,
The Bafulero, the Bavira, and the Bashi,
basouleve inquiétude bose zitatu.
all of them pointed out, all of them together.
Bavuze ko ibibazo bafite ari impunzi za 59.
They all say that they have an issue with people, refugees from.
Umwami Rambi waravuga ngo ibibazo bafite na abanyarwanda baje muri 50 entre parenthèses abita abanyamurenge.
And they all say that the only issue that is in the area is the Banyamulenge or the Rwandan who fled.
Muri ibyo bitatu navuze ariko iyo komisiyo yanga kwakira abanyamurenge. Bari amuze Milere bari bahari.
And the commission refused to receive the Banyamulenge people to hear from them.
Ariko bakira komite za XFR n'intera hamwe aho zari ziri zose barazakira.
But chose to accept and listen to the XFAR who were the Intwari.
Recommendation zavuye muri komisiyo mvangu kwari ukuvuga ngo turabasabye ngo mwirukane abanyamurenge.
So that commission was very focused to chase the Banyamulenge.
Ngo ariko
However,
tibazemera.
they will not accept.
Uko rero kuvuga ngo ntibazabyemera nuko bari bazi ko turengana. Ugende muzoyisome muzobisanga. Niyo tuvuze ngo tubirukane tugerageze kubakura ruguru kuva mu bibogobogo na Minembwe n'ahandi. Komisiyo mufate strategy zose zishoboka tibazatwemerera.
So the commission decided that they will have to chase all the Banyamulenge out, but they knew that this would be very difficult.
Aho kwemera ngo bave iri iwabo bazorwana bashiri.
And they knew that before the Banyamulenge accept to leave the mountains, they will have to fight.
bamuze manase yari abakora memorandum barayiba deposit turazigira izo za memo ni gute mwoza kureba ibibazo by'abantu bari hano muri Uvira na Fizi na Bukavu mukanga kwakira les acquis ni uko bose nitwe bwa ruko basidaka.
So and people were asking themselves, how could you come to hear from the populations and you fail to speak to those who are being
ndakeka ko batari bazi ko bakiriye intera hamwe ariko komisiyo tumaze kubona ibitabo dusanga bakiriye delegation z'intera hamwe.
Nobody knew that they had received this commission from Intwari.
Kandi muri iyo komisiyo ababembe bavuze ko n'abapfurero ko hari training ikomeye cyane y'abanyarwanda mu Rubirizi n'iy'abarundi mu Ruvungi ati bafite training nini icyo dusabira ziriya mpunzi no kubakorera amatoilette meza ariko icyo mwebwe tubasaba nka guverinoma ya Kinshasa mutwirukanira abanyamurenge.
So they asked the government to care for the refugees that were in Sange, but all the other population asked that all Banyamulenge be kicked out.
Umuntu akibaza ngo icyatumye bavuga ngo niyo tubabwiye gutyo nimudafata ingamba n'ibikoresho bikomeye bazabyemera wese wo kwibaza ngo niki cyatumye bavuga gutyo muzoyisome muzobisangamo.
So all of those trap warn the government, they say you need to come with heavy artillery because these people will not accept.
Icyatumye bavuga gutyo nuko bari bazi ko murengana.
And they say that it would be difficult to chase you out. They knew that you were being falsely accused.
Bari bazi ko ni twaye tubarenganya abangaba nibave hano duturane na zino ntera hamwe n'abantu ba FDLR baje kuba hani wacu.
So they were aware that they were being falsely accused, but they were okay to live with the Intwari.
Buriya decision yasohotse muri 1995 ivuga ibirya yo kutunyaga ubwene gihugu naho ngaho byari byavuye mu ma differente commission y'ama communauté ababembe abapfurero n'abavira nico cyifuzo bari batanze muri Kinshasa.
So they even had a wish to remove nationality from our people. It came from all those.
Nabiriya Rwabanji buriya yavuze ibyanditse ibyo amategeko yasohoye.
So they were going by what was written in those conventions.
Ako karengane rero kuvuga ngo ntibazemera kurengana umuntu yo kwibaza ngo niziye mpamvu nuko bazi ko hari haruguru ari wacu.
They knew very well that mountain in Muleba
basogokuru barahabatanze ari abapfurero ari ababembe nta numwe wadutanze iri ya ruguru.
They knew that our forefathers were there first before even.
Uriyo tugiye ku kibazo cya autochtone bakunze kuririmba cyane kitaba no muri constitution ya Congo.
When they refer about the being autochtone in the area.
Muri autochtone ni sur base ya territoire yiwanyu. Iyo bavuze ngo uri mu autochtone iwanyu nti wo kumbura muri base yi. Uzokumbura ku Mugogo, uzokumbura mu Gahwera, uzibuka mu Rurambo, uzibuka mu Minembwe, uzibuka mu Ibogobogo. Umuntu ofet autochtone ni iwanyu ni hariya kwa baso na basogokuru na basogokuruza.
Autochtone is the land where your forefathers.
Kandi muri kariya gace rero ntabwo bakadutanzemo.
And we were there before them.
Basogokuru hariya bahikiwe n'intare kugira ngo bahabe.
Our grandparents had to even fight.
Nta muryango udafite abapfuye kugira ngo babe hariya haruguru.
A lot of people have families who died while fighting.
Tidufite umwanya wo kuvuga amazina y'abantu baguye hariya basogokuruza kugira ngo tubone uko tuhaba.
We cannot list all the names of people who
Ariko ntangirira bukeya reka dutangirire muri 64.
So let's start from
Ya jambo bavuze ngo ntibazemera.
the word which they say that they
Nyuma yo guterwa muri ribaye muri 64
in 1964.
mwakoze ku Ntwari mushishikarori.
I heard you mention Mushishikaro.
Bamaze kubona ko bidakunda.
After they've seen that this will be not an easy
Baravuze
task.
ati duhaguruke tuje kwitega igitero tureke gushira nti tuzovane wacu.
So the people say that we're not going to stood and watch while we're being killed.
Uwo munsi yapfanye n'undi mugabo kuri Gafinda.
Mushishi died alongside with another man.
Abo bapfuye rero bahebanga karengane.
They died while fighting for themselves.
Abo bapfuye banga ku bwoko bushira.
They died because they saw that the population, everyone cannot be killed.
Nyuma y'ubwo ngubwo mu Bibogobogo habayeho umuganwa.
In Bibogobogo.
Nawe yageze Ibaraka na Rupande ise wa Pasteur Emmanuel nibo bagiye muri leta babasaba uburyo kugira ngo baswe kandi bazamura abantu bari bashize.
Some people got together.
Abona bari dazi tutazibagirwa na rimwe n'abayero tutazibagirwa na rimwe.
Those people went to plead to the
Mu
government.
Minembwe abona babwiye bamaze gufa abo bakarani muze karani bapfuye ba Rupembwe bapfuye bande bapfuye abagabo barateranye mu Minembwe ati turagira gute ko tudafite uko turwana n'abantu bantu.
So after so many people had died, men got together and went to
mu
sit
bagabo
down
bari
and
bagihari
discuss the
basigaye inzambona je nk'intwari barimo ba pasiteri Murondanyi.
some of the people that are still alive, like Pastor
Pasiteri
Murondanyi,
Murondanyi, Ndabagoyi, Semabarabara barahaguruka baragenda bava mu Minembwe mu ijoro baseruka ibaraka kuja gutaka.
men went from Minembwe and went down to Baraka to
Kuko
go plead to
bumvaga
the Lord.
badashobora guhangana n'abafite imbunda ariko nibura reka barebe uko basura kandi gukiza ubwoko baje gutabaza.
Because they saw that they could not confront people with guns, so they went down to see
Aho
the
kwari
government.
ukwanga ko bava iwacu.
Those acts are acts to refuse to die and to live.
Komisiyo mvanga imaze gukora biriya bamuze Milere bamaze kwandika bamaze gusakuzana amarehe mu rukeno rwa
So after the convention of Vangu, some men stood up.
habaye intambara hari habaye amahoro make cyane ashoboka. Decision imaze gusohoka bimiriye bari abasaza kutagurisha inzu, kutagurisha inka, abe no kubagarira inzu yawe. Kwakubura bonyine barabibazizaga.
So after the
Sinzi nimba mubizi. Muze yaraje kubivuga bigeze gufunga abagore ngo bakubuye kwa Budederi.
people were deprived and were even
Inzu si yawe n'ubutaka si ubwawe n'ubwa leta.
They could not sell anything. They were told that the land isn't theirs, it's for
Abaguruka banze ko dushira barimo ba ero rukenurwa.
those who stood and refused that would be terminated. Among them are
Duhaye twibuka uno munsi bose babumbiye muri Michel.
so all of those who stood and fight, we all see them through Michel.
Intambara 96 iraba
The war in 50.
abayirwanye ko ndabona hano imbere yanjye. Ico barwaniraga cose bari abafuye kiriyagiye kwarukira ngo tutavi wacu.
So all of those were fighting so that we may survive and not be exterminated.
98 iraba
And 59 came.
buriya Fega Kunzi yabanje kunegosiya nabo bari kumwe ngo bareke kurwana. Abari hano bo bitangaho ubuhamya.
Before the fight, Gakunzi had started to see if they could broker peace before fight.
Ariko kubera ko batabishaka bamurashe ahatega amaboko ngo tureke kurwana.
And he was killed while raising his hands up.
Izo ni intwari tutazibagirwa na rimwe mu buzima bwacu.
These are our heroes that we'll remember today.
Bariya abantu bacu bose bapfuye navuze muri ayo mwanya utandukanye kugeza mu Gatumba.
All of those people that I've mentioned up to Gatumba.
Niyo batumye havuka twirwaneho. Iyo ngiyo yatangiye kuri Mushishi kugeza kuri ngiyo turi mu no munsi.
This is the Twirwaneho that we speak about. That's why the Twirwaneho movement continue to exist.
Tugiye ku ntambara iyi turimo yatangiye ku minsi 10 mu kwezi kwa 4 2017 tugiye kukweza imyaka 9.
So the war which started in April.
Bayitangiye murabyibuka mwese bayi bavuga ngo batujane wacu Rwanda itangira n'abamayimayi.
All of you remember that the Mai
leta ihishe inyuma.
and the government was behind the
Mayimayi ngo imare kunanirwa leta ije hanze.
And when the Mai failed, government came out in open.
Kandi ubwo bariko bananirwa bamwe muri izi ntwari zitarahaguruka yuko bagerageje gutwika imihana bakahunga bakaja mu wundi bagahunga bakaja mu wundi kugeza igihe Lieutenant General Michel abasanga.
And they were burning villages, and though they failed, before some of our heroes had already been on our way to go and help those who were fighting for themselves.
Uno munsi rero nuguha agaciro abapfuye banga ko twicwa uko Imana yaturemye.
So today we gather to remember those who stood and refused that we may be killed.
No kwibaza muri twebwe ngo se bariya ko bapfuye kandi bakadusiga ku kivi twebwe turakora iki?
So we need to ask ourselves, those who have died for the greater good of everyone here.
Eske umukingo uhagazemo umuntu azakora neza muri interieur yacu mu mutima wacu ibyo twumva ngo duprotege ubwoko tubikora neza.
So ask yourself, are you playing your part to join in this fight?
Gushika uno munsi icyo bashaka no kuturimbura.
Until today, the main purpose is to
kandi twakoze uno munsi ukwibuka Intwari muzi dufite ibiriyo byinshi cyane muhira.
And you are very well that we have so many funerals going around.
Umusibo ejo hari umugabo w'umutwari wabonye ibyabaye amutima urahagarara arapfa mu Minembwe.
There's a man who saw what was happening in Minembwe just
Nuko ko turi muri situation zikomeye cyane kurushirizaho.
So we're losing a lot of people just.
Ariko uko zimeze Michel yasize yubatse umusingi udashobora gusenyuka none.
But despite all of what's going on, Michel Rukunda had built a foundation.
Inkingi zishinzwe muri iyo fondation ni mwebwe.
So the foundation which he started made by you.
abari kuri linye ya mbere niba ari abaturushije ubutwari bakagenda bakajayo.
So those who are at the front line are up there.
Abari kuri linye za kabiri n'iza gatatu ni mwebwe hano muri mu kugira icyo mukora kugira ngo nibura bari yabone uko baba.
So behind the front line, it is you who are supporting and helping them continue the fight.
Nutiba bukeya ukarekura umukingo uhagazeho tuzoshira.
So if you get distracted even just a little bit.
Kandi nidushira bari bose bapfuye dufite ibihumbi. Harabaza bandika badufite ibihumbi byazize ko banze byazize ko birengano.
And we know that we have thousands of
abo bantu bazaba bafiriye iki?
So we cannot let their death be.
Kuki kuva bafashe iyo decision tutahagurutse ngo tugisige. Ariko se tugisige tuje hehe? Hariya ni iwacu.
We cannot leave the land because that's our home.
Gakondo tituzoyivamo.
We will never leave our home.
Bariya bose amaraso yose yamenetse yarahameneka ngo tuzoreke kuva hariya.
So we have to understand that.
No kurashe ukareka umukingi nuguhemukira Intwari nka ba Michel.
So if we surrender, if we forsake them, we will be forsaking. We cannot forsake those who were at the front line, those who are.
Mukuba mugufi ntarambiranye.
So that I may be brief.
Mukomere.
Take heart. Be comforted.
Mukomere kandi muhaguruke turwane.
Be comforted by.
Twange ko dupfa.
So we can fight.
Twange ko dushira.
We have to refuse.
Twange ko iwacu washira.
We have to fight for our.
Tuje muri ideology ya General Michel.
To follow the path.
Tuje muri ideology y'abariya bose logique yabo y'abariya bose banze gusiga iwacu bakamena amaraso yabo hari.
To follow through the steps and follow their ideology who stood up and refused to die.
Mukomere.
So take heart.
Mureke gucika intege.
Do not be discouraged.
Yuko mu rugambi yo mucitse intege muratsindwa.
Because when you're discouraged, you may even
ubundi kandi abamaze kwitaba bose nibirya yavuze ngo ni igitambo cavuye mu muryango.
And all of those who have died, these are the sacrifice from families.
Ni sacrifice. Message yewe yanyuma yaravugaga ngo iki gihugu tuzokigura amaraso y'agaciro gakomeye.
These are the sacrifice. He even mentioned it. He said we will have to give a greater sacrifice so we can live in the land.
Tureke gutwarwa n'ibituriho.
Let's not be distracted with what's going on.
Tuhaguruke dukore tuzotsindira ya rugamba.
Let's stand up all together so we can fight and survive.
Murakoze.
Thank you.
Arakoze cyane ku kiganiro cyiza tugejejeho.
For great words that he shared.
Mu ncamake abashe gukora ku byagiye bitubaho.
He just summarized some of the things, some of the events that happened in our lives.
Tumaze rero akanya twicaye ndagira ngo tubaze umuhanzi Frank niba ari hafi.
We've been sitting down for a while. Let's ask Frank.
Niba ari hafi yatambuka afite ibihangano bye aza kutugezaho hanyuma tuze kumva ine gahunda ikurikiraho.
Murakoze cyane ndabasuhuje. Ndagira ngo mbasabe kubw'icubahiro tugomba intwari zacu, ndaza kubasaba kubw'urukundo twamukundaga no kubw'icizere yadusigiye byaduteye kwandika indirimbo tugiye kuririmba. Ndifuza ko tuyiririmbana twese duhagaze n'amabuje dufite, cyangwa se urashaka gukoresha telefone bitewe na message iri mu ndirimbo tuze kuyacana urumuri rw'icizere. Murakoze, Imana ibahe umugisha. Fatikanye. Ushobora gukoresha buje cyangwa ugakoresha telefone baze kudufasha bagabanye amatara kugira ngo bidufashe. Murakoze. Yes. Ariko humura ufite isezerano, zabashumbusha imyaka yariwe n'inzige, gakondo nasezeranye abasogokuruza, zayibahamure bwoko bwawe, murenge humura ufite isezerano.
Generale Makanika uzahora mu mitima yacu, ntituzibagire imirimo wakoreye ubwoko bwacu, murenge humura ufite isezerano, murenge humura ufite isezerano. Amarira turira ni menshi, agahinda ni kenshi, ariko murenge we humura, murenge humura, murenge humura, murenge humura ufite isezerano. Humura sinagutaye, humura sinakwibagiwe, mucyimbo cy'umwijima uzanira umucyo. Humura sinagutaye, humura sinakwibagiwe, mucyimbo cy'amarira uzanira umucyo.
Tuzabona intwari z'umurenge zishwe zizira uko zaremwe, zishwe zizira ubwoko. Tuzabona murenge humura tuzabona General Rukunda Michel Makanika wabaye agakiza k'umunyamurenge, wabaye agakiza k'ubwoko, wabaye agakiza ka gakondo. Tuzabona Colonel Musore, tuzabona Boneri, tuzabona Rukunda, tuzabona Mungura, tuzabona Ruboneka n'abandi bose bishwe kugira ngo umunyamurenge abeho, bishwe kugira ngo tudatakaza gakondo. Imbuto mwasize mubivye zirimo gushibuka, Murenge urakabaho, humura Murenge, ejo ni heza.
Umurasira utaye, umurasira kwibagiwe, ucimbo c'umwijima, uzanira umuco. Umurasira utaye, umurasira kwibagiwe, ucimbo c'amarira, uzanira amaraso yo mu birenge, aravuga umva, amaraso yo mu birenge, aravuga umva, amaraso yo mu rurango, aravuga umva, amaraso yo mu birunga, aravuga umva.
Ndagira ngo munyemerere tuzamure amatoroshi yacu.
Umurasira utaye, umurasira kwibagiwe, ucimbo c'umwijima, uzanira umuco. Umurasira utaye, umurasira kwibagiwe, ucimbo c'amarira, uzanira.
Murakoze namwumvishe.
Arakoze umuhanzi Frank,
We thank Frank.
abaye nk'uzamura amarangamutima y'abantu,
I know he touched on some people's emotions.
atwibukije byinshi mu ndirimbo ngufi cyane.
He just reminded us a lot about events going on.
Umaze kuvuga Mzee David Banoge
Mzee David Banoge,
yagumye kuvuga Honorable Michel Ruhimbika.
he came back to Lambert,
Byumvikana ko hari icyo yamuteguriraga kuza kutugezaho.
so that he was preparing him to bring us the next speech.
Mzee rero ndagira ngo tuguha akanya
So let's welcome you, Mzee,
ubwire ico ubwira abateraniye hano.
so you can pass your remarks.
Ndavuga amagambo magufi cyane
I'm going to be very brief
kuko umwanya ni kungana
because we don't have a lot of time.
kandi ibintu byinshi turabizi.
And I know that we know a lot of what we're talking about.
Aha twaje kunama, twaje kwibuka intwari zacu.
We are here just so to remember our heroes.
N'ibindi bisigaye bivugwa ku ma YouTube abantu bakabyumva no kandi biri birananditse.
And I know many things are shared through YouTube and other social media.
Reka mbe ngongera ku magambo make umushakashatsi David Banoge yavuze gatoya, nongera kuzo yavuze gusa.
Let me just add a little bit to what Mzee David shared. shared.
kubyerekeye buryo twirwanaho yatangiye kwirwanaho kwaca abanyamurenge kwatangiye
How Kwibuka started.
kuko mbega ni ibintu byabaye kenshi
It's something that occurred many times.
bikorwa na benshi
It was
nicyo gituma kamwe kagiye kabaha kuko bamwe birwanagaho mu bice bari baherereyemo
and some people were fighting for themselves
Rero,
in areas where they lived.
mu gihe kimwe muri 66
At some point in 60s,
abanyamurenge batangiye kunyagwa ibintu byabo hariya mu Mibunda
when properties were
haje abasirikare ba leta barimo ababirigi
government soldiers came, including
abo babirigi barimo umusirikare umwe witwa Giparapara
and there were Belgians and there was someone called Kwibuka.
uyu Giparapara niwe waforumye niwe wigisha abanyamurenge bwa mbere kwirwanaho
This person Kwibuka is the founder of Kwibuka.
yarakurikira ibindi bintu umunyarwanda witwa Rukeba yakoze inganje niba
He
tibeshe
was following the model that a Rwandan person in
uyu
Ghana.
Giparapara w'umubirigi niwe wigisha abitwa ba Rubondo
So this Kwibuka taught Rwanda,
yigisha bakagweba
he taught Kagweba,
yigisha babitwenge
he taught Bitwenge,
bitwenge ndahizwa
Bitwenge Nahi,
yigishwa bandagiro ndaguzwa
he taught Dagiro,
yigisha bagipiro ruvunzi
and taught Gipiro.
abo ngabo kandi bashoboye no gukora amagambo yo kwirwanaho bagarura ibintu byabo byari bimaze kunyagwa
These individuals were able to fight for themselves.
ibindi ni biriya yavuze reka nkomeze
So let me continue.
rero kubera kuko ibyo baduhaye kuvuga amagambo amwe
Because we're given to
baduhaye kuvuga teme imwe byerekeranye
we've been given to speak about a same.
uriya mugabo we ni umushakashatsi nicyo gituma ariwe wabivuze
I know David is a researcher.
rero mu magambo mvuga zaza ngenda asa n'uhawe simba bugufi
To be jumping on little.
kubera kuko sinshobora gusubira mu zo yavuze
I don't want to go back to what he
ariko
was saying.
reka mbanzirize kuri aya magambo y'ibanze mbwira isi
So I'm going to start to tell the world.
ndabwira twebwe abanyamurenge turi aha ngaha
So I'm not telling these specifically
amagambo nk'atatu mbwira isi yayitwumva
about 3 words I want to tell the world.
hari iwacu ntihari intambara imwe
Back home, there's not only
mu
one war.
burasira bwa kongo ntihari intambara imwe
In Eastern Congo, there's not only one war.
hariho intambara zitatu
There's 3 kinds of war.
hariho iriya y'iwacu yabanje
There's the war that started.
jewe ndi mu bagiye ruguru hamaze gusha kuri mbunda mu gatanga bijombo bimaze gusha
I'm actually among those who went up in Minnesota.
iriya ni intambara yaje itugana twebwe abanyamurenge
It's a war that was brought to Banyamulenge.
kandi ni kurya babivuze kwari ukuvuga ngo murafasha mu muji wanyu
And it was about, are you going to die or are you going to go back?
murahitamo gufasha mu muji wanyu
Are you going to choose to die or are you going to go back?
aya magambo ko ndavuga ndahaye mbesha
I'm going to say this and I'm not going to.
ko ndavuga amagambo yavuzwe n'abaza babikora
I'm saying words that were being spoken about.
n'uwona bihakana abahaye yirengagiza
And whoever may refute these words.
iyo niyo ntambara twebwe tureba cyane abanyamurenge kandi yatujahaje yatwishe
This is a war that really hurt us, Banyamulenge.
ituma b'abasore n'abana bacu abagore n'abandi basanze bagumaga kwirwanaho nk'abarya David yavuze n'abamaze kuvuga
It's a war that enabled Banyamulenge individuals to fight for themselves.
irindi jambo ntabwo abanyamurenge baharara
And there's one thing, Banyamulenge never started.
abanyamurenge ntibazaharira abandi baturanyi babo ngo babanyagire ibintu byabo
Banyamulenge never started any war.
niyo twonesheje umurima tuba tugerageza kumvikana n'abandi duturanye
Even though when cows go into the,
rero ntabwo tunyaga ibintu by'abandi ngo byatwagaye
we don't really start any fight or cause any war.
ariko twebwe tuzira ikintu kimwe gusa
But us, we usually fall from.
turwanira kubaho gusa
We always fight to survive.
titurwanya leta ya Kongo
We don't fight against the government.
abanyamurenge ntibafashe indwara ngo bakureho Tshisekedi
Banyamulenge never took arms to
ngo
fight
bakureho
against
Kabila cyangwa
Tshisekedi or remove,
bakureho Kabila cyangwa uwundi muntu
or Kabila or any other leader.
ntibishifuzaga kuvuga ngo aribo baje mu kibanza cy'abategetsi
It's not in their wish to be the leaders.
ibyo bakora ni ukwirwanaho kugira ngo babeho
All they do is to fight so they can survive.
hariho ingorane nyinshi muri Kongo cyangwa muri Afurika
There's so many issues in Africa.
ariko turi ubwoko bumwe bwihariye kuvuga ngo reka turwande kubaho wishi sinzi ko ndabura uko mbivuga ngo mbeho ndeke gupfa mbeho
It's very difficult to even
nta yindi nyungu duteze nta yindi nyungu duteze inyuma y'ibyo
We don't seek any other interest.
abanyamurenge barashaka gusa ngo babeho
Banyamulenge only fight so they can survive.
iyo ni uko barashaka ngo babeho nk'abandi bantu babeho bahumeke
They just want to live.
abaragira baragire
Those who have cows,
abahinga bahinge
take care of them. Those
abaja ku ishuri baje ku ishuri
who go to school,
abakora amakwe bayakore
those who get married may do that in peace.
nico abanyamurenge baharanira
That's what Banyamulenge are fighting.
cyonyine gusa ariko isi zitwita ngo turi abantu bakomeye kandi tworoshe.
But the world has been labeling us as
niba ibintu mwerekanye ahangaha mukerekana abasore bacu bambaye neza b'abasirikare hari abasirikare batwirwaneho.
and some of the images that we've seen, you may think that we're armed.
Sinakuriya bameze kuko bambaye amahuza acafuye atameze kuriya.
The pictures might be showing it very well, but that's
Isi
not
yo
what it
ifata abanyamulenge kuko ari abantu bakomeye,
is. The world today is considering Banyamulenge as
ndetse
very powerful.
ikabahindura kuko ari abicanyi bica abandi abica yandi mwoko.
And the world is labeling Banyamulenge as killers who are killing other tribes.
Reka hari kundaje gutinda, reka mbaheze umufano umwe w'umugabo umwe wambwiye ejo bundi hano muri Amerika.
Let me give you an example of a man who shared some word.
Bari bafashe umuntu w'umunyamulenge ukunyine bagenda bafata ngo abantu badafite impapuro basijane babasubiza iyo baje.
And Banyamulenge was arrested in America about to be deported.
Nuko rero baje kubwira umuloya,
And they approached the lawyer.
aya n'amagambo yabaye hari ya Texas,
This happened in Texas.
ngo bashike babwira umuloya bati umuntu wacu bagiye kumusubiza kandi n'umunyamulenge nasubira muri Kongo baramwica.
And other Banyamulenge told the lawyer, hey, if this person is
Wa mugabo w'umuloya ati umunyamulenge naje muri Kongo baramwica.
and the lawyer was asking if this Banyamulenge
Konza mburanira abandi banye Kongo ibihumbi hano basinze ndetse abajije babahaye kuba hano bahunga abanyamulenge muri Kongo.
So what are you saying? Because I know a lot of people who fled Congo.
Ayo magambo nayabwiwe n'umunyamulenge byabaye mu mayinga biratambutse.
This was said.
Umve rero uburyo ibintu byabaye inverse byaracuriswe.
Things have been put in inverse.
Kwebwe abishwa nitwe twahinduwe abicanyi.
Us who are being killed have been turned into killers.
Nuko niko isi idufashe.
That is how the world.
Nano muri Amerika hariho abashakashatsi bakomeye b'abari mu universite
Even the researchers at universities
baduhinduye babi
they've converted us into
ngo
evil
nitwe tukorera abandi babi kuruta ibyo badukorera.
and they know that Banyamulenge are the ones being the problem and
Ayo
killing.
icyo kintu ndakibeshuje rwose.
So let me say that this is
Twebwe nitwe ba victime
we are the victim,
ariko nitwe bitwa ba buro, twe bitwa abicanyi.
but we're being labeled or we're being.
Icyo kintu ndakibeshuje.
So I want.
Ayo n'amagambo nabwiraga isi.
I'm telling this to the world.
Kabaza ngo ese nkurikiza umuntu watwise izina abanyamulenge yagize nabi.
So I'm asking who the person who called us Banyamulenge, did he do a bad thing?
Ese umuntu wazanye groupement ya bijombo yagize nabi.
Did the person who started the group Bijombo?
Umuntu wazanye izina ry'abanyamulenge yadukoreye ikintu cyiza gitangaje.
The person who named us Banyamulenge did a wonderful thing
Kuko cyaduhesheje identite.
because it gave us an identity.
N'abarwanya izina ry'abanyamulenge kugira ngo mureke kugira droit au sol, mureke kugira iwanyu.
Even those who are fighting against you is because they don't want you to have a land. They don't want you to
Bakwime
have your
kubaho
land. They want to prevent you from.
kandi rero banakwicuza ari umuntu uri mu kirere utagira iwanyu.
And they want you to just be a person who's.
Ariko umuntu wazanye rino zina ry'umunyamulenge yagize neza kutwita abanyamulenge.
But the person who called us Banyamulenge.
Kandi koko rero turi abanyamulenge turabyemera kandi twarabikunze twaranabyakiriye.
Indeed, we are Banyamulenge.
Ariko ga rero umuntu rero watwise rino zina ry'abanyamulenge,
The person who called us Banyamulenge.
dore ko na hambere twigeze no kubavuga ngo ese ninde wari banjije bamwe ngo ni gisara abandi ngo ni kabarura abandi ngo ni bande.
I know some people wonder.
Uwo muntu yakije umuriro rero.
The person, it's like.
Umuntu watwise ry'umunyamulenge yakije umuriro.
It's like he started a fire.
Umuriro utwika.
A fire that burns.
Kuko ikibiri mu kintu kimwe bazabatuziza abandi.
Because this is one of the reasons.
Rero
that
niba ukomoka mu muntu witwise abanyamulenge,
if you come from a
haguruka urwana intambara kuko umuriro uri muri barya bawakije
asking
wewe.
you to stand up to fight because you're among the people.
Igituma batwimaga groupement mu bijombo
The reason why they were being refused
kwari
out of
ukugira ngo
the
tureke kwerekana ko nako dufite kutume turi abanyamulenge tugira iwacu.
those who were against it, they didn't want us to have a land.
Umuntu rero wazanye groupement mu bijombo ntiyagize nabi,
So the person who started the movement,
ariko byaratwikishije.
but that has been one of the reasons that
Nyamara nk'uko sinzi wabivuze ndagira ngo ni Apotre Gitwaza,
I don't know who said it, but I think
isi ntizaguheza ikintu cya politike ku buntu.
the world will never hand you.
Twebwe niko maze kuvuga nti turwanira ngo tuje gukuraho ubutegetsi buhari. Jamais.
We're not going to fight against regime.
Ariko rero ntibazemera ko tunagira n'iwacu,
But they're refusing something so we can have.
uretse Imana yo mu ijuru yonyine ari izaturwanirira.
We know that only God will fight on our behalf.
Komeze mvuga ngo
So let me continue by saying this
mbere yuko ndangiza,
before I finish.
abantu baza bavuga ngo ni mwebwe ni mwange bene wanyu
People are being told to hate
kugira ngo nerekane ko ndi umukompatriote ngomba kukwanga wewe.
so that I could show that I'm a nationalist or someone who loves my country, I need to hate my
nkakuvuga nabi wewe,
I need to speak evil about you.
ariko kuvuga nabi ntibihagije,
But even to say bad things, it's
ni
not enough.
ngomba no kukwica.
It's also kill you.
Ariko niki kimba garanti ko nimara kukwica jewe mbaho?
But what guarantees me that after I've killed
Ntacyo
you,
mbona.
I'm going to leave?
Reka mbwire abanyamurenge turi muno n'abandi banyekongo banumva,
So let me tell you, Banyamulenge who are gathered
en
here,
terme ya communauté,
in terms of
tuvuze ngo amakominote cyangwa imirara,
if we say community,
ni twebwe twenyine nk'umurara, niba ari umurara communauté bayita ubwoko, ni twebwe twenyine nk'ubwoko,
it is only our community,
twebwe twenyine gusa
only us,
kurusha abandi banyekongo bose
more than other tribes in
bahagurutse kurwanira Kongo.
who have stood up to fight.
Nta bundi bwoko muri Kongo burahaguruka kurwanira Kongo.
There's no other tribe that has.
Niba buhari buzabivuge,
If there is such a tribe,
ntabwo bubaho.
it does not exist.
Twebwe nitwe ba patriote kuruta abandi ba patriote babaho.
Banyamulenge are the true patriots, more than any other people.
Uwarega umunyamurenge ko atari patriote,
Whoever says that,
uwo ntabaza amateka ya Kongo.
they don't know the history of Congo.
Uwo ntabaza amateka ya
They
Kongo.
don't know the history.
Rero timwiyumve mw'ubwoba,
So do not fear.
muhumurike kuko igihugu cyanyu muragikunda
Know that you love your
kandi
country.
mwarakirwaniye,
You will fight for it.
n'abatemera none ko mwagifiriye ejo bazabyemera.
And those who deny it,
N'utanabyemera ntazi, hari abantu batazi histoire ya Kongo.
many people do not know the history.
Umuntu utazi histoire ya Kongo ntakuzamugira keretse kumurihira Minerval akaja ku ishuri.
There's nothing we can do other than say.
Uwo rero mahoro yamutuma yakajya kwiga akagaruka akabona kumenya ibintu.
Mahoro can send him to school.
Twebwe muri communauté zose zibaho za Kongo,
Among all the communities in Congo,
kuko ndongera kuzo Chercheur Banoge yavuze,
because I'm adding to what Mzee Banoge said,
twe ba mbere barwaniye Kongo.
we are the first to fight for the country.
Kandi
Congo.
izo bintu Imana ntiyabyibagiwe.
And God will never forget.
Imana irabikunda.
God loves it.
Murakagira Imana.
arakoze.
Thank you very much.
Gukoma amashyi ni icyizere,
When we clap, it's a sign of hope.
ntihagire uwo biza gukomeretsa wenda kubera ko turiho twibuka,
Do not be offended. We know we are remembering.
ariko ni sinye y'icyizere.
It's a sign of hope.
Arakoze cyane mu ijambo rigufa tugejejeho.
Well, thank you, sir, for your kind words.
Muri ubu buzima rero
In this life,
hari abandi bantu batari abanyamurenge ariko bazi ibyatubayeho,
we have other people who are not Banyamulenge, but who understand the struggles of Banyamulenge,
bakomoka muri iki gihugu.
who are from this country.
Ndagira rero ngo tuze kumva Dr. Bojana.
I'm going to invite Dr. Bujan.
Okay, bambwiye kuko ijambo rye ritari ryaba hafi.
John is not ready,
Mu kanya ariko turaza kumutegera, uwo ni umunyamerika wa hano.
but we're going to invite him later.
Reka rero dukomeze n'amagambo.
Let's continue.
Hari umuntu hano wabanye na Fande Michel mu buryo butandukanye,
Among us here, we have a person who lived long with Michel.
bavugana baganira, wabaye inshuti ye,
They lived together, they spoke a lot, and they
akaba n'umukozi
were
w'Imana.
friends. And he's a servant of God.
Turagira ngo duhamagare Apotre Micho
Let's invite Apostle Michel
aze agira icyo atubwira mu ijambo rigufi,
to come forward and give us his remarks.
aragira icyo atubwira kuri Afande Michel.
He will tell us a little about Father Michel.
tubanje gutanga mpore ku miryango yose yateraniye hano,
Let me first give my condolences to all the families who are here,
z'umwihariko umuryango wabyaye Intwari yacu n'izindi tutavuze amazina yazo,
in particular the family in which Michel is from and other families.
nabizi ko igihe kituriza uyu munsi
I know that today,
nticyatangiye none cyari kiriho, n'igihe cyatambutse.
in days that have passed,
kandi kiracafite urugendo rutari rugufi.
This has been a long journey.
Ariko ko kiradutegura kuzaba agaciro bazifuzwa n'abandi, ko kiradutegura kuba agaciro bazifuzwa n'abandi ejo hazaza.
I know that the events happening are preparing us to be people who will be desirable by others in the future.
Twaje gufatanya n'abandi bose bari hano kugira ngo tubashe kwerekana umubabaro.
We have come here to join together to show our sorrow.
Ariko kandi no gufatanya ibyiringiro bishobora kuba byohindura ubuzima bw'umubabaro ukabifumbire y'ibyiringiro by'ejo z'ubutsinzi.
But to also come in solidarity in hope for a future.
Ndi mu bantu bumvise ijwi rya nyuma rya Marehemu nje bamurashe turimo tuvugana.
I'm among those who heard General Makanika just before he was killed.
Ubwo yaravuye aho ari babanje kurindira kugira ngo ibizuma biri mu kirere bitambuke, avuye yazamuka ampamagara kenshi bangombwa kuko mfata telefone.
He was coming from where they've been waiting for certain equipment to pass.
Ngerageza
He called me several times and I picked up the phone.
Ngerageza gusa naho tumugira inama ko abanza kubyirinda, ariko avuga ko yari akeneye ko tuvugana.
And I even tried to tell him to be patient and allow some time to pass before he could do anything.
Atararangiza ijambo yari ateruye telefone irakatika ntibyakomeza.
And before he finished what he was saying, I heard the phone hang up.
Mugenzi wacu tubana muri ubuzima bwo kwirwanaho,
I have a comrade in this journey of fighting for ourselves.
niwe wantanze kumenya kuko hari ibyabaye nubwo twaherukanye.
He was the first to know of what had just happened.
Nje nari ko ari telefone yavuyeho gusa bisanzwe.
I thought the phone had just hung up because of signal reasons.
Bivuze ko nanje ndi mu bantu basigaranye inkovu iremereye cya gikomere kiremereye.
Meaning that I'm among those who have a heavy scar after what happened.
Nubwo tutabivuga hanze ngo tubisakuze, ariko kandi turi mu bantu bafite ibyiringiro yuko Makanika ari muzima, ubuzima bwe buri muri twebwe twese, kandi byadusigiye bifite ubuzima bizamera bikatugeza ku nzozi ibyo yaharaniye.
Even though we don't go out saying it out loud, but we are people who have hope and we know that Makanika still lives.
Ngiye kuvuga ibintu bine gusa.
I'm going to mention 4 things.
Igice cya mbere ni Intwari, ariko ndasima amagambo bayavuze abandi.
The first thing, we know he's a hero, and I know a lot of people already said it.
Intwari nabwo nyine abivuze aravuga ngo ni umuntu ukora ibyo abandi bantu bashobora gukora.
And he even gave a definition by himself. He said it's someone who does things that others can do,
Ariko batakoze ku mpamvu runaka zabuje kubikora.
but who are not doing that for some reasons.
Umuntu yabiterwa no gutinya kwanga gusiga ibye.
And sometimes it is people fear to leave their loved ones or their
Abandi babiterwa n'ubushobozi bwo kubasha kumva ko ari bo bireba kugira ngo abashe kwishyira mu bikorwa.
Others feel like they're not responsible.
Abandi bo biguzwa n'abandi kubikora ndetse birashoboka.
And the others may not do it because they think other people will take the responsibility.
Ariko Intwari rero ikora birya izi ko abandi batakoze ariko bigomba gukorwa.
But a hero is someone who will do something that others are not doing, but that needs to be done.
Ijambo rya kabiri,
The second word,
Intwari ntigira amaso arangiza ibiteye ubwoba.
a hero is not someone who focuses on what seems to be frightening.
Amaso y'Intwari igihe cyose arangiza hejuru ibitera ubwoba ndetse harimo n'urupfu.
The eyes are able to go beyond the things that are frightening and death.
Kuko iyo baje gukora ibiteye ibisa n'ibyo ngibyo nibyo bakoze, ntibabikora bagiye kwiyahura, ahubwo babikora bazi ko hirya yabyo hari ubundi buzima bagomba kugezaho abandi bantu.
When they do what they do, it's not because they're going out to commit suicide or anything. It's because they're doing to prepare the future.
Icya gatatu kuri iyo point,
And the third thing,
bakora igikorwa basangiye n'abandi inyungu, ariko cyane cyane inyungu z'abandi kuruta iziwe.
they fight for a common purpose, but they fight for a purpose that way beyond themselves.
icya kane ntakorera gushimwa no mu gihe atashimwa arabikora nk'udategereje kubishimirwa.
Number 4, they don't fight so that people can thank them or be
umwambaro w'ishimwe rye ni inzozi ze ziba zagezweho zuzuye umutima we.
his main purpose is something to see the victory or to be closed in a hope or a victory.
Point ya kabiri ndayisimba ndavuga amagambo abiri.
I'm going to come back to 2 words.
Nuko ubutwari si ubu bwonyine gusa bwabo turimo tuvuga uyu munsi, ariko hari imiyoboro myinshi y'ubutwari twakagombye kuba tuvugaho.
Because heroism is not just what we're talking about. There are many things that can make up heroism.
Habe no kuvugaho nyine birashobora kuba byo igikorwa cy'ubutwari ndetse kurutana bafashe imiheto.
Even people who are able to speak or articulate very well, that could be a symbol of heroism.
Nibutse abagabo 12 barimo Yoshua na Kalebu, 10 iravuga ngo ntibishoboka ko tuzajayo muri Kanaani.
I remember 12 individuals. 10 of them say that it's nearly impossible that we may go and reach Canaan.
Bavuga n'impamvu ndetse bishobora kuba batogenda.
And they even give many reasons why they're unable to do that.
Ariko intwari zibiri zirimo Yoshua na Kalebu,
But 2 among them, Joshua and Caleb,
ubutwari bwabusohokera mu magambo bavuze,
and the heroism came from the words that others were saying.
buhindura imitekerereze n'inzozi z'abananiwe, barongera kandi basubamo imbaraga, bahuza imitekerereze, urugamba rurakomeza kandi bararutsinda.
The heroism came from the good words that they said and changed everyone else to advance and go.
N'ubu turigisha Yoshua na Kalebu kubera ijambo bavuze ryonyine.
Even today we preach from the words that Caleb and Joshua say.
Ntavuze iby'abandi bakoze, ibyasenyutse iwacu biradutegereje ngo byerekane ubutwari bwishe muri twebwe mu gihe turimo twibuka, nugira ngo twibaze ngo se niki kindi cyakorwa. Izindi ntwari zishe muri twebwe n'izindi ziri ku yindi misozi zibikurikirana ku cuma, nazo zihaguruke zikore biriya byasenyutse, birashobora kuranga intwari zikikishe muri twebwe zitarakora.
We know among us there are still many heroes because we know that so many things have been destroyed back home. So that's waiting for heroes to go and rebuild.
Natambutse ngiye ku point rero ya gatatu.
So let me go to the 3rd point.
Ariyo intwari zadusize uyu munsi, arimo uyu mugabo turimo tuvuga hano.
I'm going to talk about the heroes that we're talking about here.
Nije natekereje kumwita nashatse izina ry'ikinyamurenge ndaribura,
I try to come up with a name to name him.
ariko nshaka kwitiza izina ry'abanyamahanga rivuga ngo ni innovator. Innovator muraza kumfasha, umuntu urema ibintu bikagira ubuzima bitari biriho.
I try to think of a name to give him, but I came up with the name innovator.
Byavuye mu magambo natekereje, yazamutse ndi mu bantu bake bamenye igihe yazamutse nuko yazamutse.
Because I try to remember the day when he went up the mountains.
Yazamutse ntacyo yitwaje usibye ubuzima bwe n'imitekerereze irangiza hejuru inyuma y'urupfu, inyuma y'imibabaro, ikarangiza ubundi buzima abandi batarabitekereza kubikora. Azamukana iyo shusho ariko nta kindi kintu yari yitwaje mu maboko yiwe.
He had nothing when he went up in the mountains. He didn't have anything with him other than just the hope and the vision.
Agezeyo yihangira, nta ruganda yari yikoreye, yihangira ibikoresho yakagombye gukoresha kandi bibaho n'ubu nyine ko birakora abana bivuze. Nta ruganda yikoreye ajanye, nta materiel yajanye, ariko ajana uruganda mu mitekerereze ye. Uruganda rw'ibikoresho biraremwa n'uko birakora.
When he went, he only had his visions. He didn't have any materials or any support he was bringing to the people who were fighting for themselves already.
Ntabwo ari mu bikoresho gusa, yasanze n'imitekerereze ikeneye innovation, yasanze imitekerereze iri mu mibande yarahunze, adafite abantu badafite amazu, badafite ubwugamo, ariko ngo ashika afata bwa buzima bwatsinzwe, bwa buzima bwavuye mu ibyiringiro, aburemamwo imbaraga z'imitekerereze no kubabwira ko bishoboka. Uyu munsi birashoboka ko bararwana kandi ko baratsinda.
So even when he arrived, he found people were scattered in vision and hopes. People were hopeless, but he was able to instill this hope in people, and people stood up and fought again.
Yazamutse izindi ntwari dufite zarwananye n'abandi bari bari mu mazu yabo n'ibikoresho bari bafite n'ubutunzi bari badufite ku misozi, ariko we yasanze imisozi yacu itakigira ikintu na kimwe twakwishimikirizaho, ariko ashitse arema intabwa z'inka, bunyine zabaye inka ko zirakamwa.
Upon his arrival, even the land was seemed to be a hopeless place, but he was able to reunite or put people together, and those are the people who are fighting today.
Imisozi yacu yayiretse, yayiremeye icubahiro, irongera kandi iraturwa, kandi n'uyu munsi irimo abantu.
He was able to bring back the honor to our mountains, and the villages are now being lived today.
Ntiyari Ntwari gusa, ahubwo yari innovator, yari umuremyi w'ibitekerezo, umuremyi w'ibikoresho, umuremyi w'ubuzima bukongera kandi kubaho. Aho ni amakuru y'ukuri.
He was not just a regular hero, he was an innovator. He was a person who brought back hope into the people.
Ntiyaretse ibyo ngibyo, yaremye n'imitekerereze yo kumenya Imana. Abasore yasanze batazi Imana, n'ahantu yasanze harabaye imisaka, yaremye imitekerereze ayishikiriza Imana, irongera kandi isabana n'Imana. Imisozi yacu irongera kandi ndetse ayiremamwo ibicaniro zo guhimbaza Imana yacu, n'imitima ibicaniro zo kumenya Imana. Abasore benshi bamenye Imana, nabyo benshi bongeye kandi kugira icyizere Imana. Ndatambutse iyo point. Ibintu bibiri bisigaye, niki dushobora kwigira ku buzima bw'Intwari kugira ngo agaciro kacu ko kwizihiza ubuzima bwabo kabonwe n'abandi, natwe katugira akamaro.
What can we learn from this hero that we're talking about so that our life can have more values?
Nasanze nta kindi twakwiga ngeretse character z'Intwari.
I came to realize there's only one thing we can learn from him, it's his character.
Cyangwa ubuzima bw'umwimerere bw'Intwari.
Or his particular character.
Ndavugamo zitatu gusa.
Let me tell you three characters that he has.
Intwari kubera kwigira umutwaro wo kubaka, ntishigikira ibisenya. Bivuze ko kirwanya ibyubakwa. Iyo cyubatswe gitandukanye n'ico yubatse, nta kirwanya aragishigikira kugira ngo ibyubatse bizamura ishema y'ibyaharanira kugeraho.
A hero's vision is to build. He will never be against those who are building. His vision is to build and to
bivuze ngo ico wowe utakoze umutima wo kukirwanya n'ukuzamo, uzamenye ko akora ibinyuranye na character zabo turimo twigiraho.
So if you're being against those who are building, just know that you're being negative. You're not supposed to do that.
Character kabiri, nta Ntwari itagira urukundo, kuko ibyo akora byose abikoreshwa n'urukundo rutamwemera kubona kaga gategwa n'ishage gukora. Urukundo rumwereka ibyiza bishobora kuzana abantu hamwe, ndetse mugabo no kubagiza ku nzozi zo kuba mu buzima bwiza. Usibye Yesu wabikoze, abagabo bahisemo neza uyu muhamagaro, twabasha kubigiraho ndetse no kubakubitira amashi menshi cyane.
Another character from the hero is love. A love that's able to bring people together.
Kandi bibyara umuco w'abanyamurenge bafite aho bikomora kera cyane. Bivuze ngo kubibuka kwiza nukongera kandi kuzana iyi character y'abanyamurenge yagaragaye muri Makanika n'abandi bari kumwe, kugira ngo yongere kandi garuke hafi abanyamurenge, duhuze ibitekerezo, duhuze umutwe, ariko kandi dukundane, tunababarirane, dutwake ejo hazaza heza afite insho nziza.
So this is something that characterizes Banyamulenge in general, especially from old time. It's to bring love, it's to have love so that we can come together and achieve more.
Nja kurangiza,
In conclusion,
uretse abanyamurenge twebwe turi hano niki twakora rero?
us who are here, what can we do?
Kwambara amahuzu yirabura ni byiza mu gihe turimo twibuka ngo byerekane inshusho y'ibyo abantu bazi ko ari byerekana kwibuka.
To be dressed in black, it's good to show the event that we're in.
Ariko biba bifite agaciro gake cyane mu gihe tutarimo dushaka kugira ngo twebwe dukora ico twakagombye gukora, arico dutahana umunsi twaje kumva amagambo nkaya no kubona imeze ngibi ngibi tumaze kubona, ngo twatani nisho twifuza kuba twogeraho.
It's pointless to be dressed in black without sharing the common cause or having the same vision and to look forward into fighting for ourselves.
Aho harimo kurwanya ikitwambura agaciro kacu mu mahanga turimo.
We first have to think to fight something that's taking our values away.
Atari ko dushingiye ku mubare w'ababyumva, ariko dushingiye ku mubare w'ababyumvise.
Without caring more about the number of people who understand, but just even a few number that understand.
Aho harimo ubuvugizi bw'aho ukorera mu kazi ndetse n'aho wirirwa, bakundishe kumenya yuko iwacu hari ibyarenganye bigomba kuba byorenganurwa kugira ngo tuzagere ku nzozi twifuza.
Among these is being able to speak even the places where you work of the injustices, so we can go back and rebuild home.
Ubu byaroroshe cyane.
It's easy today.
Twakoresha media,
We can use the media.
twakoresha ndetse n'inshuti z'amatorero dufite,
We can use our friends from church.
twakoresha n'urubyiruko dufite.
We can use the youth.
Pawulo yavuze neza ngo murwanishe intwaro z'uburyo bwose bwo mu mwuka.
Paul said to use all things that you can.
Turwanisha ubushobozi bwose dufite, nibwo tuzagira umunyamurengo ufite agaciro, tudategereje kuba barimo batanga amaraso bari mu gihugu, ariko twe twibaza ngo se niki jewe mbaye nkuru uyu munsi waje kwanama numva bino bintu bivugwa, waje kwibuka nima numva bino bintu bikorwa, n'ababashe gutanga ibitumaze kuvuga, niki nje ndimo nkora uyu munsi.
So ask yourself, what's your role? What are you doing today to bring the values back?
Kutabikora twobihunga, ariko ntituzahunga urubanza rw'aya maraso.
We can do other things, but we'll never run away from those who have shed.
Ntibivuza ngo ukora ico mugenzi wawe yakora, ariko ukora ico nawe ushoboye gukora, ariko ushaka kugira ngo ugeze abantu kuco ushoboye kuba woshobora kubagezaho.
It does not mean for you to do what others are doing. You can even do something different, but with the same goal to achieve something great for the whole community.
Ariko slogan uvuga ngo turabishoboye tuzabigeraho.
But let me say we're able and we will.
Nangiza rero,
In conclusion,
hamwe n'ibyo dufite Imana izadushoboza kubigeraho.
with all of these, we have God who will help us.
Dufite n'isezerano ry'icyo tuvuzeho tuzongera kandi tuhature.
We even have promises. We will again live in our land.
Ndetse n'abangaba dusembere bazongera baze gushaka y'Imana iwacu n'agaciro k'iwacu bazabigeraho ejo bundi.
Even those friends who are here will go and
Kuko
see
Imana yacu icyo yatuvuzeho kirahenze kandi kizakurikirwa n'abakomeye.
because what God has said about our lives is greater.
Imana ibahereza umugisha,
May God bless you.
kandi ntitwuname nk'abadafite ibyiringiro, tugire ibyiringiro kuko dufite byinshi twize kuri abagabo n'ibyinshi bizavuka kandi bizagira akamaro ubwoko bwacu. Murakoze cyane, Imana ibahereza umugisha.
Arakoze cyane, turasaba abantu baze kwihangana,
Thank you very much. We're going to ask people to be
turagenda dusatira umusozo.
we're coming close to the end.
Gaston niba ari hano hafi,
If Gaston is nearby,
watambuka iminota ibiri ukavuga umuvugo wawe.
let's ask him to come forward and take 2 minutes.
Reka mbanze nihanganishe abantu mwese, ndetse nihanganishe ubwoko bwose ku bibazo turimo. Tuzaguma tubivugire mu mivugo kugira ngo bose babimenye. Iki ni igisigo nahangiye General Rukunda Makanika umunsi twumva incamugongo yatashe iwacu Murenge. Incamugongo muri iki gitondo ubwoko bwose imbugita mu nda.
And so his spirit really inspired me. Even though we didn't work with him hand in hand, but we worked with those people that he was supporting, he was protecting. And that is still the situation today. He really organized and made sure people were protected. Even in that situation, he never fought against the government. He only wanted to protect his loved ones. The armed forces were in Minembwe. He was in the outskirts fending off the militias. But many times, like we said, the armed forces supported the militias by giving them tactical gears, training, ammunition to attack us. But he still maintained that this is solely a self-defense. If the government were to protect Banyamulenge, we would never ever attack the government. Until the day he died, they struck an air and they killed him by drone. And that's when the Twigwaneho self-defense said, enough is enough. You had killed our leader. That mean, and this is after 5 years of self-defense. Vowing not to touch the government, still waiting for the government to change its mind and protect everyone. And that's when they allied themselves with the M23. Because they were abandoned. And M23 is a Tutsi group, like Banyamulenge from North Kivu. They are also trying to protect their families that were chased out of the country. And so I want to say in a humanitarian way, we've tried to mobilize even doctors to go to Minembwe. They were targeted and killed on their way. Humanitarian aid, trunks, anything that could get to Minembwe was destroyed on its way to Minembwe. This means that they were trying to kill and uproot Banyamulenge out of their land by fire or by hunger. Up until now, Minembwe is under a blockade. It means Banyamulenge cannot trade with other local tribes, while other tribes are able to travel from one area to another. And if you're trying to get there, you will be killed, lynched. Not only as a civilian, by the way, not only as a civilian, even if you are an armed serviceman, the fact that you're Munyamulenge, you'll be taken out of the car, lynched. These things have happened over the course of the 8 years of this struggle. And so what I'm saying is that Banyamulenge have been abandoned for many, many years. This is the third generation, like I said. But we have refused to surrender. And that's what he said, that we will defend ourselves until the very last drop of blood. And we are so grateful for everyone who has stood with Banyamulenge and the whole plateau so that they do not surrender. Reka nshimire Abanyamulenge cyane. They babaye abatabazi mu buryo bwose. Mu gihe abantu bose babakuyeho amaboko, mwabeshejeho ababyeyi banyu ino myaka yose kugeza n'uyu munsi. Ntimugacike intege nubwo Intwari yacu yadusize ndetse n'abandi bose yajanye nayo, n'abandi baracarimo bagenda, ariko ubu niwo murage twasigiwe. Ntitwatoye kuba Abanyamulenge, n'Imana yabishatse. Imana yabishatse izatugwanirira nimba twebwe tutirekuye. Icyo nje nobasaba ni ubumwe. Ndabizi ko dufite abatuvuyemo bakorana n'umwanzi kuko batekereza yuko hari ubukiriro. Abo ngabo ko tubazi, ariko se twebwe dusigaye muri uyu murongo wo kwigwanaho. Ndabasaba kugira ngo tugire ubumwe. Ibintu byose bito bito byotuma tutagwanira hamwe tubyoroshe, tubigire ubusa, tugwanira hamwe, kuko intsinzi yacu ya mbere nuko twagwanye turi umwe, duciye mu bintu byinshi mwagiye mukora, ari ugutanga umusanzu, ari ugutabara mu buryo bwose bushoboka, ari ubuvugizi. Ibyo nibigaragaza yuko turi bamwe. Sintekereza ko hari ubundi bwoko bwo sustaining a struggle imyaka 8 bwonyine hatariho external support. Ibyo nibigaragaza yuko hari ubumwe, ariko ntago biri enough. Hari abantu bamwe bakora abandi bakumva yuko bireba abandi. Twese biratureba. Ndashaka gushimira abamama ku mwihariko. Mwarakoze bayobowe na Mama Anastasie. Uriya ni mudacogora niko namwita, mu kuorganizinga abadamu no kubaganiriza no kubashira hamwe. Turabasaba kugira ngo mukomeze noneho mube hafi y'abasigaye. Abasigaye ruguru ni imfubyi, ni imfubyi batakaje umubyeyi. Ababyeyi murabizi kurera imfubyi uko bimeze, mugomba noneho kurushirizaho kurushaho. Ndabibwira abamama ariko ndabibwira mwese n'ababyeyi n'abana. Mureke dukomeze twegerane, tubumwe, ariko ubu nyine kandi ntituri twenyine. Twagize n'abandi ntitukirinke, dufite abandi dufatikanyije urugamba kandi nabo turabashimira. Sinzi muri Bible ukuntu babyita, iyo urugamba rwakomeraga abantu barahagurukaga kuri Joshua bakazamura amaboko kugira ngo bakomeze abari ku rugamba, kandi urugamba rurakomeye bunyine mu Minembwe. Ntekereza yuko bari bashakaga kuburizamo kino kintu cya Gideyoni. Bari bashaka gufata Minembwe turimo hano, ariko barananiwe, ntibazanabishobora. Rero reka mbasabe mwese muhaguruke, tuzamura amaboko, tuyatunge mu Minembwe, bakomeze urugamba kugeza dutashe. Muzamuhaguruke mwese. Mu Minembwe ni Este. So tuyatunga amaboko.
We are going to raise our hands and support those people in Intwari.
Turavuga twese ngo kwigwanaho.
We're going to say defend ourselves.
N'ubuzima.
It's a life.
Kuko iyi ni generation turimwe yacu ya gatatu. Abagenzi n'abagena Alpha muzaba muri generation ya gatanu. ahari ntibizaba bimeze gutya
It will be the same.
ariko kwigwanaho kuzakomeza.
But to depend on
Reka
some
twese
decisions.
rero dutunge amaboko
Let's just show our hands over there.
dutekereza abari mu minembwe ubu nyine kuri no mu Rwitsankuku
Remember those people in the Kwibuka,
ni Masisi,
in Masisi,
Walikale,
Walikale,
hose muri
in
Eastern
other
Congo.
places in those areas.
Tuvuge ngo kwigwanaho
Defending ourselves.
ni ubuzima.
It's a life.
Twese tubisubiremo rimwe.
1, 2, 3.
Kwigwanaho ni ubuzima. Murakoze cyane.
Thank you so much.
Arakoze cyane
Thank you very much
ku ijambo risubizamo imbaraga duhaye.
for a word that comforts us again.
Nk'uko nabivuze kare,
Like I said earlier,
hari abantu bake bo muri iki gihugu batwumva.
we have some people here who know our struggle,
Batanze umwanya wabo,
who have given their time,
babigiramo imbaraga nyinshi,
and they put a lot of strength,
bayirirwa bandika,
who write,
bagira ubushakashatsi
who research,
kugira ngo babashe kubwira isi ko turengana.
so that they can tell the world about what's going on.
Ndagira rero ngo aka kanya dukurikirane ijambo rya Dr. Bojana,
Let's right now listen to Dr. Bojan.
niba
in Rwanda has spread throughout the region. It's important to understand that this ideology of framing certain people as foreigners in their own country, on their own land, has been something that has been ongoing since the independence of Congo. The situation in Minembwe and in the highlands in the past 10 years or so, it has been really reaching a climax with the presence of the Mai Mai groups that have been targeting the Banyamulenge community specifically based on who they are. I think it's important to understand that today the ideology that has targets this community is really using this idea of self-defense groups that are there to protect the people from being targeted and from being extinct in this area are being framed as the aggressor. It's important, for example, to now go back to what has happened in the past year or so and why it's important today to raise awareness. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me today during this important commemorative event. I am very honored and grateful for your invitation to deliver a statement today. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you to also all the representatives of the Banyamulenge community. I would like to start by conveying the idea that today we are in a very dire situation in South Kivu, in Minembwe, in the high plateau. This is not a new occurrence. It is not something that has started today. In my work, I have raised awareness about how the ideology that has led to the 1994 genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda has spread throughout the region. It's important to understand that this ideology of framing certain people as foreigners in their own country, on their own land, has been something that has been ongoing since the independence of Congo. The situation in Minembwe and in the highlands in the past 10 years or so, it has been really reaching a climax with the presence of the Mai groups that have been targeting the Banyamulenge community specifically based on who they are. I think it's important to understand that today the ideology that has targets this community is really using this idea of self-defense groups that are there to protect the people from being targeted and from being extinct in this area are being framed as the aggressor. It's important, for example, to now go back to what has happened in the past year or so and why it's important today to raise awareness about the ongoing situation of violence against the Banyamulenge community. In my work, as I have interviewed a number of people who live in South Kivu, particularly in the highlands, but also in Uvira. In those interviews, I have been informed about the type of situation that the Banyamulenge had to face in Uvira particularly, but also in the highlands. Of course, we've had the blockade that was ongoing in the past year and so, but also now more specifically since the withdrawal of AFCM 23 from Uvira. The blockade has been ongoing. I would like to actually remind here that even the spokesperson of the army of Burundi has acknowledged that they have engaged in creating this blockade. These attacks are systematically targeting civilians, children, women, men, and elderly indiscriminately, but also destroying homes and cattle, which is the main subsistence activity. So therefore, the means of subsistence have also been targeted, attacked, and destroyed, which equates to a form of ethnic cleansing. I've also been in contact with the Banyamulenge that left, the 1,000 or so Banyamulenge that have left Uvira when AFCM 23 withdrew. I was there and I followed the convoys and the Banyamulenge who had to flee because they were at risk of attack and extreme form of violence. Hundreds of families are currently in displaced camps, in a displaced camp in Kamanyola. I would like to come back quickly to also Uvira, where it's important to now kind of understand how this ideology has been put in place and what are the mechanisms of that ideology. When I spoke to people in Uvira and people from the highlands, so this situation and the way that these mechanisms of genocide ideology have been put in place and have functioned have really focused on the notion of defining the Congolese Tutsi as being foreigners and equating them or assimilating them to Rwandans. One example that I could really use here is that when AFCM 23 came to liberate Eastern Congo or some areas of Eastern Congo, including Goma and Bukavu, the Mai Mai, the Wazalendo, what we call the Wazalendo, have come to occupy Uvira. The Banyamulenge were renamed Banyarwanda in order to define them as foreigners, in order to define them as being assimilated to Rwandans, that Rwandans themselves have been defined as aggressors. Again, this is political manipulation that has unfortunately targeted this community. By renaming the Banyamulenge Banyarwanda, it is a way of denying them the right to be in Eastern Congo, the right to continue their lives as they've done for several centuries on this land. The conspiracy theories that define the Banyamulenge as foreigners is exactly one of the mechanisms that has been used to deny existence, and of course to deny citizenship, but ultimately to deny existence for the Banyamulenge in South Kivu. So I do want to once again raise awareness about the situation that has been ongoing in the past year since AFC M23 have arrived to put an end to this ideology in Eastern Congo. This has been used by the central government against the communities of particularly so Tutsi Kinyarwanda speaking in North and South Kivu. The FDLR, of course, as a force, as a genocidal force, which was created by the remnants of those who committed genocide in 1994 in Rwanda, have been present in both North and South Kivu, and today we can see that that violence has continued, particularly now in the areas of Masisi, Ruchuru, and in North Kivu, but also in South Kivu. The FDLR have been part of this coalition where the Burundian troops are also integrated. And again, the Banyamulenge have been systematically targeted. In Uvira, we've heard that hate speech has been broadcasted on radio, but also has been used. This dangerous form of speech has been used in Uvira for the entire year before AUCM23 came to push them away and to secure this area. We've heard, of course, the entire situation with Gasita, where we started now saying that we want all Banyamulenge to leave, that Banyamulenge are not home in Uvira, they're not home in Congo, and that they need to go back home. In this case, this is a coded hate speech or hate discourse that is being used once again to define these theories that are racist theories, that are theories that exclude a certain group of people from existence and that lead to risks of genocide, but also acts of ethnic cleansing in the region are extremely omnipresent today, and it's important to really raise awareness about what is going on. So I'm hopeful that the international community will understand what is happening today, and that we are really in a situation of high risk of ethnic cleansing that has already started since we've seen systematic attacks, airstrikes on civilian population in South Kivu, daily airstrikes by the central government or by the coalition of the central government that embeds all these groups that have been targeting the Banyamulenge in the last 10 years. We are really reaching a situation, an alarming situation, where the Banyamulenge are at high risk of genocide, of extermination, and they've been already for 30 years stranded in refugee camps. So it is only normal that the Banyamulenge are today fighting for their survival, because this is an existential threat. I really call on the international community, I call on all supporting groups to raise awareness about what is happening today in Minembwe, in Highlands, these systematic attacks against the Congolese Tutsi, in Eastern Congo, the systematic attacks against the Banyamulenge in South Kivu. Something must be done to protect those tens of thousands of people that are currently in the highlands at risk of extermination. We need to also allow those refugees in camps, refugee camps in neighboring countries, and those displaced in Kamanyola to be able to return. Uvira today is not safe. The only time that this community was safe was the month that AFCM 23 was in Uvira, that they have secured from my FDLR, the Burundian troops, and so on. That was the only month that this community was safe, was at the time when the Mai, the Wazalendo, the FDLR and the Burundian troops, the DRC Guerrilla Coalition was pushed out, and also where important values that have been shared and have been conveyed, which is values of living together and putting an end to discrimination against certain communities. So I would like to just thank you again for giving me the opportunity to convey this important message, which is one of sounding the alarm about what's happening in South Kivu today, in the highlands, in Minembwe, where systematic ethnic cleansing has been ongoing against the Banyamulenge community. I call on all organizations and international community to understand how this is a critical moment where we have the responsibility to protect this community from being led to extermination and genocide. Thank you very much.
Arakoze cyane ku ijambo aduhaye nawe. Nk'uko nabivuze ni umwe mu banyamerika bake bumva ikibazo cyacu. Kandi arakora cyane mu by'ukuri kugira ngo amenyekanishe ubuzima tubayemo. Hari abantu baje nyuma, hari Kirenga, turakwiyegereje ko waje kubana natwe. Ayoboye community y'Abanyarwanda hano. Hari abantu b'isoko bashobora kuba baje nyuma, nabo twarabatumiye. Nabo kaze nubwo tugana ku musozo. Hanyuma rero dusigaje umuntu uduha ikiganiro umwe. Ndagira ngo amasaha ntabwo twakererewe cyane. Twateranye hano mu izina ry'Abanyamurenge. Biri kubera ku isi yose. Ni ukuvuga ngo Mahoro nayo ni umwe mu Banyamurenge batumiwe muri iki kintu. Niyo mpamvu ngira ngo dutumire umuyobozi wa Mahoro Peace Association, Perezida Douglas. Umwanya ni wawe kugira ngo tugeze ijambo wateguye.
Mwiriwe akoze cyane ku mwanya wo kuvuga. Amaze nshimire Dr. Clement kuba yatuyoboye muri kino kiganiro, muri kino kibanza no mu turagushimiye cyane ubigenje neza. Nshimira Dr. Kulibali umaze kuvuga, ni umuntu utuvugira cyane, avuga amateka yacu nkaho ayazi kandi arayazi neza. Azabigenza neza naho kumushimira kuba yaduhaye n'umwanya yari kutuganiriza live, ariko ntibizashobotse kuba kubera gahunda nyinshi. Ntangire kino kiganiro cyangwa se no jambo mfite mu magambo makeya. Ibintu byinshi babivuze. Uno munsi wa none ni umunsi ugoye kuri benshi, kuri twebwe twese. Uragoye ku miryango y'intwari zacu, ariko mureke dutangire dutanga pole. ino pole turayitanga ku miryango y'intwari zacu. Intwari zacu zose ndagira ngo nta muntu n'umwe hano uri mu kino kibanza taratakaje umuntu muri bino bibazo tumaze imyaka duhura nabyo. Rero intwari zacu zose n'imiryango yabo tutanze pole, ariko zino ntwari zirangaje imbere. Intwari y'ikirenga Lieutenant Colonel Lieutenant General Rukunda Michel Makanika, umuryango yanyu mwese turabihanganishije, mukomere kandi bino bihe turimo tuzabitambuka. Dutanze pole ku banyamurenge bose, aho bari, utangiriye hano muri Amerika, iwacu muri Congo. Abanyamurenge dusigaye dutuye ahantu hose, nayo ntaho tutari. Ngo umunyamurenge wose ahari yumve ngo tumuhaye pole kandi tumwihanganisha tuvuga ngo mukomere. Bino bihe tumaze ino myaka yose ntabwo bizakomeza ngo bikomeze gutya. Hazagera umunsi umwe abana bacu bazavuga bino bibazo nko mu mateka. Mwihangane, mukomere, ntimucike intege, ibihe byiza bizaza. Reka mfata akanya gatoya nshimire abantu. Dutangire kwanza ku banyamuryango bacu b'amahoro bari hano. Abanyamurenge bose bibumbiye muri uno muryango wacu mwiza dukunda amahoro, turabashimiye. Tubashimiye ku bintu byinshi, no seulement ibikorwa byanyu bizwi ku isi hose. Twishimiye ku rukundo rwanyu, gufatikanya kwanyu no gukunda ubwoko. Turabashimiye rwose kuko uruhare rwanyu rw'ibikorwa byanyu urazwi ku isi hose. Rero turabashimiye ku bintu mukomeje gukora, tunabasaba gukomeza gukora kuko muhamubigeza kugira ngo no seulement hari iwacu abasigaye bazabona ubufasha buturutse kuri mwebwe. Turabashimiye kandi mwumve ko ibyo mukora birazwi kandi turabizirikana cyane. Reka dushimire inzego zigize umuryango wacu w'amahoro. Uno umuryango washinzwe imyaka myinshi irashize. Turashimira abantu bagize igitekerezo cyo gushinga uno muryango. Nagira ngo babitekereje bareba kure cyane. Ni nkaho bari bazi ngo hazaba igihe nk'iki umuryango wacu cyangwa ubwoko bugakenera uno muryango wacu w'amahoro. Abagize uruhare mu gushinga uno muryango turabashimiye. Vision yanyu niyo ihaye ikora bino bikorwa byose. Vision yanyu nihaye ifasha abantu bari hari iwacu. Turabashimiye rwose. Reka dushimire komite executive. Ndagira bari bayihaguruje, simbahagurutsa none kandi bari babihaguruje kandi ko turabashimiye ku bikorwa mukora. Ari na komite na board yacu turabashimiye rwose ku kazi ntabwo koroshe. N'ibintu abantu bakora mu buryo buri volontaire kandi bisaba amasaha menshi, ariko kubera ko mwabyemeje mukabikora turabashimiye rwose. Dushimiye urwego rw'abamama n'inzego ziri pari y'umuryango wacu w'amahoro. Turabashimiye ku bikorwa byiza mukora. Ibintu byose babivuze, tuzongera tunabivuge. Abamama badufatiye ahantu hanini cyane, no seulement kuba bafite ya nurturing aspect y'ubumama, bakora ibikorwa byinshi kandi bakanabikorwa bacicitse batavuze cyane. Rwose abamama mukomereza aho ngaho, turabashimiye. Reka dushimire urubyiruko rwacu, youth, Mahoro Youth, na komite yanyu. Turabashimiye rwose kuko nubwo muri executive dukora ibikorwa bigasa nk'ari twebwe tuba tubikora gusa, ariko tubikorana n'urubyiruko, especially mu bintu bijyanye na advocacy. Kino gihugu ni igihugu gisa nkaho kirenze bamwe. Hari ibintu byinshi urubyiruko rudufashamo kandi turabakeneye cyane kuko muri kino gihe intambara abantu baba bahura nazo, ibibazo bene wacu bahura nabyo, solution cyangwa se solution yabo kenshi biri hano kandi kugira ngo tubigereho nuko urubyiruko rwacu rugomba guhaguruka rukagura pati yayo, kuko nibo bazi systeme, nibo bazi imvugo rwose nk'abarabikora neza. Tunabasaba gukomereza gukora neza. Reka dushimire abagwanashaka tangire kuri komite yabo nabo, kuko babivuze mbere, nabo ni urwego rw'amahoro, n'urwego rumwe mu nzego z'amahoro, ariko bagira ibyo bakora specifically kandi babikora neza. Turabashimiye n'ubuyobozi bwabo bwose, Imana ikomeze kubagirira neza kandi mukomeze muzo mukora. Kadushimire urwego rw'abapasiteri. Urwego rw'abapasiteri ni urwego rukomeye, ruradushigikira mu bintu byinshi, non seulement mu buryo bw'inama n'uburyo spirituel. Intambara nyinshi abantu bavuga ngo hariho intambara physique tubona, ariko hariho n'izindi ntambara spirituel. Abapasiteri bacu babifashamo cyane, utangiye ku rwego rwa Nehemiah Association. Bose turabashimiye ku bikorwa kandi muzakomeze kutuba hafi no kuba ubwoko bwacu hafi. Murakoze cyane. Mureke tugire icyo tuvuga gatoya kuri kino gikorwa cy'uno munsi. Ngira ngo uno mwaka wa mbere dutangiye gukora commemoration yo kwibuka intware zacu. Ndagira kino gikorwa tugomba gufata très sérieux, kubera ko ni ikintu kizatwubaka. Nitugiheza agaciro tukagitekereza neza, kizatwubaka kubera ko tumaze imyaka myinshi mu ntambara. Rero intware zacu tugomba kuziheza agaciro kandi tukaziheza umunsi. Uno munsi wa none turawuwizigiza cyangwa turawukora tugendeye ku umunsi mukuru cyangwa se gutabaruka kwa afande wacu. Iwe arepresenta izindi ntwari. Ni symbole representa intwari zacu zose, ari za kera, ari zihazi zitabaruka uno munsi wa none. Rero kino gikorwa hari abatangiye ari batubaje ngese kuki tubikora uno munsi kandi ntambara itararangira. Ngira ngo ni ngombwa ngo tubikora, zabaye ngombwa ngo tubikora, kubera ko icyahagurukije zino ntwari zose nikirarangira, kirakomeje. Rero uno munsi wa none ni ngombwa ngo tubikora kugira ngo twibutse abantu, twibutse amahanga ko impamvu zatumye zino ntwara zihaguruka ziracahari. Uno munsi wa none muzi amakuru ahabera mu Minembwe, muzi za drone zihazitwika imihana, zihazica abaturage. Mwabonye ejo bundi abakecuru b'imyaka 100 bicigo mu mazu yabo. Rero uno munsi wa none ni ngombwa ngo tuwukora kugira ngo twibutse kandi dushira abantu imbaraga kugira ngo bakomeze gukoraho, nubwo intambara itararangira ariko necessaire. Rero going forward, uno munsi tugomba ku celebrating cyangwa se kuwukora, tukawukura mu miryango, kuko intware zacu ntabwo zari intware z'imiryango, nubwo bafite aho bavutse, ariko tugomba kuba eleve tukabashira mu rwego rwa nation, tukaza tubibuka mu buryo butari specifique ngo tuvuge nguyu. Tugomba ku-creating system izazibwira uno no munsi w'intware zacu, nubwo tuzatubigora ku munsi w'ikirenga afande general, ariko no munsi w'intware zacu zose. Rero mahoro izaza yorganiza uno muryango buri mwaka, uno muhango buri mwaka, nkuko tubikora na Gatumba, kugira ngo tukomeze, kugira ngo tuheza agaciro, ndetse niwacu nihamara tumara kugira amahoro. Ndagira ngo tuzatumakinga sure ko niwacu tubikora mu buryo buri specific, mu buryo buri organize, tuzamuye indwara yacu ku rwego rwa nationale, tituba limite cyane mu miryango. Rero abantu nyine boba babonye ko uno mwaka wa mbere tubitangiye, hoba hariho peut-être ibintu bitagenze neza, tabikoze uko twagombye gushaka kubikora, ariko turapromettre ko umwaka utaha n'indi myaka tuzabinonosora neza, tukabigira neza kugira ngo abantu bose biyumve muri uno munsi. Rero rwose uno munsi ni ngombwa kandi tuzakomeza kuwukora kuko bigomba. Reka mvuge gatoya kubijanye n'ibikorwa by'uyu muryango muri kino gihe turimo. Abavuze mbere bavuze neza, bavuze amateka y'intambara zacu, bavuze akarengane turimo tumaze imyaka, ariko ikintu batayemphasizingemo cyane ni responsibility y'imiryango n'ibihugu, international community kubijanye no gutabara ubwoko bwacu. Ubwoko bwacu ndagira ngo ni ubwoko bwonyine buhura n'ibyago bakabura batabara, ni ubwoko bwonyine bangazwa bakaba mu refugee camp ariko ukabura na organization n'imwe yovuga ngo irahagurutse ngo igiye gutabara mu Minembwe. Rero bimwe mu bikorwa muno muryango uzwi kandi uhawe ukora kandi ugomba gukora ni ukugoboka bene wacu mu bihe nk'ibi ngibi. Mwarakoze kandi mukomereza aho ngaho. Mu myaka muri ano mezi angahe dutangiye gukora, tugiye kwenimera ibikorwa tugenda dufasha mu ma village yacu, especially muri bino bihe twari tugoswe, imiti twohereje mu ma village yacu tangiriye mu Rurambo, za Bibogobogo, za Bijombo no Minembwe, n'abanyeshuri bacu twenyine bari mu Minembwe n'ahandi kugira ngo bishyurirwe minervale kubera ikibazo cy'iwacu. Ababyeyi babo bamaze imyaka badakora, rero nta mafaranga bafite yo kwishyura minervale. Rero ibyo ni ibikorwa uno muryango ukora kandi ukora kubera amaboko yayo. Ejo bundi mwabonye impunzi zacu zavuye mu Buvira zihongerera mu Kamanyura, nta organization n'imwe y'abatabaye, ariko kubera humanitarian effort zanyu n'imbaraga zanyu twarabatabaye, tubaheza ibyo bari bakeneye kugira ngo nabo babe nk'ababona aho boryama n'abamusiketeri bakwiyorosa kugira ngo abana ntibagware. Ibyo ni ibikorwa umuryango wacu ukora, ariko ukabikora kubera ko dufite imbaraga zanyu. Rero tukabasaba gukomereza aho ngaho, ntimucike intege, ahubwo mushiremo effort kuko ibibazo biracari byinshi. Mukomeze gukora ibyo mukora, noneho mu bidouble, mushiremo imbaraga cyane kugira ngo hari iwacu mu Minembwe ibibazo bihari nko murababivuze. Nagira nta muntu n'umwe uri hano udafite bene wabo mu Minembwe. Amakuru yo mu Minembwe nagira nta utayazi. Imyunyu kugira ngo abaturage bari hari babone imyunyu cyangwa amasukari, twasubiye muri ya block isi ya indi twarize mbere nko Uvira ifatwa, twayisubiyemo none bisiga byarabaye wese kuhagera none n'inzira yo yaragoye. Ariko turasaba ngo abantu bose muri uno muryango wacu gukora, mukore nk'uko muza mubikora kugira ngo nitubona n'inzira kugira ngo twohereze ibintu bigende bishike ku bantu babikeneye hariya, tuzabikore kuko duhora tubikora. Turabashimiye rwose kandi icyo ni ikintu muzwiho. Umuryango wacu w'amahoro nagize amahirwe yo kugenda muri Afrika gusura imiryango y'abantu bacu bawe n'ibibazo. Rero niho namenye uburemere bw'umuryango wacu w'amahoro. Mugomba kuwugwanaho, imbaraga zo kuwugwanya zarahagurutse. Ubu none tugwanya none n'abantu bene wacu ngo turagwanya na guverinoma. Ndagira ngo mwabibonye mu kanya ino live tuhatuvugiraho none bamaze kwicamo kabiri, kwikata kugira ngo kino gikorwa cyacu ntikimenyekane. Mwabibonye mwese ko turagwana na guverinoma idashaka ngo ibikorwa by'amahoro bikomeze, ko turagwanya n'abanzi badashaka ngo tuvuga ikibazo cy'abanyamurenge hariya bahabicwa. Izo mbaraga zose ko barazigwanyiriza muri no muryango wacu. Rero abanyamuryango mukomere, ntimukazemere ngo habe ikintu kiba kuri no muryango, ntimukazemere ngo habe ikintu kiba ku munyamurenge aho ari hose. Icyo kintu turakibasabye, mukimenye kandi mugisengere. Nta n'ubuco bazatumara kuko dufite Imana ngo turavugisha ukuri, ukuri kwacu n'ukuri tuhatugwanira kuzanisha. Mu magambo makeya nari mfite, munyemerere ntanye message mu rurimi rw'icyongereza. Ndagira ngo abantu twavuze ibitureba nk'umuryango, twatanze amakuru, twatanze update, ariko abantu dukeneye kubwira cyane n'aba bazungu babayana, ni community, international community, kuko amadecision menshi akorwa hano tara affecting ubuzima bwacu. Rero tugomba kuza tushakisha mechanisme yo kubagezaho message, kubabwiza ukuri, guhozaho. Tuza duhozaho tubabwira kugeza igihe bazabyumva. Tuza tugenda aho tugiye hose kuvuga mu advocacy tugasanga hariho ibinyoma nk'icumi. Abantu baje kubwira abantu amakuru bakababesha babwira batubeshera twebwe nk'ubwoko, ariko tugomba gushira ingufu kugira ngo tuyababwire twenyine babyumve mu kanwa kacu, apana bari abitirira ngo nibo baturepresenta, apana bari abaza bibesha ngo bava muri bahembwe n'amafaranga ya guverinoma ya Kongo. Tugomba kubabwira rero muzo tuzadukora, tuzadufata umwanya wo kubabwira amakuru bumva babyumve kugira ngo bamenye buno kuri. So muranyemera rero nsome rino jambo mu Cyongereza. Ni jambo rivuga muri advocacy, rivuga impamvu intwari zacu zagurutse, kandi rinasaba n'ubutabera no kugira ngo amahanga yumve ikibazo cyacu. Murakoze. Distinguished guests, members of community, partners, friends, defenders of human rights and human dignity. Today we gather not only to honor the memory of a man, but to reflect on a cry he carried on behalf of entire people. A cry that rose from the mountain of High Plateau, a cry filled with pain, resilience, and hope. A cry that simply say, protect my people. Our heroes made difficult choices at the time when silence felt safer. And whatever one's perspective on the paths taken during those difficult years, history will remember one thing. They spoke at a moment when many felt abandoned, threatened, and unheard. When the Banyamulenge community faced displacement, persecution, and threat of being erased from their ancestral land, their voices became one of the few that pierced through the dark. Today, as Mahoro Peace Association, the voice of the voiceless, we do not remember them to glorify conflict. We remember them to acknowledge the condition that forced such a plea to exist. Since 2017, the Banyamulenge community in DRC has endured a crisis that cannot be dismissed as isolated incident. We have seen systematic pattern, villages being burned, homes destroyed, cattle, the backbone of our livelihood, looted and killed, and entire communities besieged through the Hot Plateau. Scholars have described this as a slow genocide, a targeted elimination, not only of lives, but of livelihood, identity, and belonging. Thousands have fled, surviving in fragile and improvised displacement camps. Reports as recent as 2025 continue to document discrimination, hate speeches, attacks by armed groups, Mai Mai, Wazalendo, FDLR, naming but few. Let us be clear. We are not merely statistics. We are not geopolitical noise. We are human beings. We are Congolese citizens. We are mothers seeking safety for our children, farmers hoping to cultivate our land, students longing to classroom instead of conflict. What is happening in the whole plateau reflects a deliberate and calculated displacement, and it must be addressed urgently. When no one speaks, persecution intensifies. When no one intervenes, the vulnerable become targets. Mahoro Peace Association stands as humanitarian conscience and a voice for those whose villages no longer exist, mothers working for days with children on their backs, elders who have watched their home burn. We stand firmly for this: protection of minorities, respect for identities, dignity for all citizens, and coexistence in a unified Congo. No political dispute, no military operation, and no historical grievance can ever justify attacks on civilians in our own country. And yet, as recently as December 2025 to January 2026, even today, almost March 2026. So during the brief capture of Uvira, the Banyamulenge household enjoyed renewed looting, destruction of home and churches, and many of them displaced to Kamanyola. Not because of allegiance to any armed groups, but because of fear of stigmatization. Too many remain overcrowded, displacement are lacking security, healthcare, education, food, and shelter. And this is our call, and is a call that we say with a passion. We therefore call upon the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo, our government. We call on MONUSCO, an international organization. We call on African Union, international humanitarian organization, to urgently ensure protection of vulnerable people. Neutral humanitarian corridors to attend Minembwe urgently. Medical care for the mothers and children. Reconstructions of schools. Monitoring of ethnic motivated violence. And accountability for attacks on civilians. And what is the role of Mahoro Peace Association in all this? When displaced families fled to Kamanyola with nothing, no food, no mattresses, no medical supply, Mahoro Peace Association stepped in. They provide the necessary needs for people in need. Our members, both in diaspora and in the region, provided emergency food, basic shelters, and essential supplies. Not because we have an abundant resources, but because we refuse to let our people suffer alone. Still, we recognize that we cannot do this alone. Silence has been an additional wound to our people. International early warning bodies have raised alarms. Genocide Watch has categorized the Banyamulenge situation as a genocide emergency. The UN Special Advisor on Prevention of Genocide has warned of widespread systematic attacks, including sexual violence. The international community, we say, do not reduce this crisis to politics. Do not hide behind neutrality when civilians are targeted. Do not wait for mass atrocities to acknowledge slow silence. Humanitarian intervention is needed now. And this is a message to our people here in the United States and our people everywhere in the world. To our mothers, you are not forgotten. To our youth, your future is still full of promises. To our elders, your suffering is seen and honored. To our EMPER members, thank you. You have shown that when system fell, community can rise. You have proven that compassion is stronger than hatred. Our journey is long, but our hope is unbreakable. Our story is no longer in despair. It will be written in resiliency, unity, and peace. Let there be no doubt. We are Congolese. We are not guests. We are not outsiders. We belong to the Congo as much as any other community in the Congo. A strong Congo protects all its people, regardless of race or tribes. A united Congo rejects ethnic hatred. A peaceful Congo ensures every child grows without fear. Our call is not for division. Our call is for justice and protection. As we conclude, as we remember our heroes, we remember the words, protect our people. And today, we extend them. Do not displace them. Do not erase them. Do not silence them. Protect them, support them, and do not be silent. Mahoro Peace Association will continue to be the voice of the voiceless, in service, in advocacy, in unwavering pursuit of peace. May justice rise in our plateau. May protection reaches the vulnerables. May courage replace silence. And may our children one day speak of this time, not as an era of sorrow, but as the moment the world finally listened. Thank you very much. Mbere nkonangiza reka mfata umwanya nshimire Mahoro ya hano Dayton ku mirimo myiza bakoze, kuba baratwakiriye muri kino gikorwa, komite yabo iyobowe na muvandimwe Rumenge turabashimiye, katubasaba muhaguruke kugira abantu babone, komite yose y'amahoro hano loko muhaguruke aho muhagaze mwese. Turabashimiye rwose kuri ino organisation, ni organize neza cyane, hari umutuzo kandi program mwayishize kuri gahunda yose. Reka dushimire organisation yateguye kino gikorwa, komisiyo twashinze, nabo muhaguruke namwe babone, kubera ko nimwe mwashizeho ino gahunda yose. Turabashimiye rwose kuri ino program, kandi mwabikoze neza cyane. Reka turangize tusubiza ijambo ku muyobozi wa gahunda. Imana y'umugisha, murakoze.
Rakoze Perezida, turagana ku musozo, ngira ngo umwanya twakoresheje neza nubwo twarengejeho gato, ariko umwanya twakoresheje neza. Ngira ngo bimwe nagomba kuvuga arabivuze byo gushimira abantu batandukanye, ariko mbere yuko tugana ku musozo ndagira ngo mpamagare Perezida wa communauté ya hano Mahoro ya hano muri Dayton, afite ijambo ritaza kuvuga, hanyuma tugane ku musozo.
Arakoze umuyobozi wa gahunda. Nta byinshi jewe mvuga kuri uyu munsi kubera ko ibintu byose byavuzwe byari bikenewe, kandi nubwo twoceceka kubabona gusa konyine go kuravuga. Iki gikorwa kugira ngo kigende neza, cyitabirwe n'imbaraga nyinshi zakoreshejwe n'iyi timu yose bahagurukije, kandi turabashimiye. Nje ndatanga amatangazo, ariko nanone mbanza kubashimira. Mu by'ukuri mwagize neza kwitaba. Iki nicyo gikenewe, nicyo kibanze, ni nacyo cy'ingenzi, ni nacyo twokora. Kandi ukumwitabye gutya mwavuye hirya no hino mu mastate atandukanye, ariko muzoza mwitaba ibikorwa byose. Babivuze, ni mwebwe HCR, ni mwebwe CICR, ni mwebwe UNICEF, ni mwebwe iriya miryango yose, ni mwebwe. Ni ukuvuga ngo umuntu wese utaza witabira imisanzu yo gufasha iwacu, jumenya kuko ndatinya kubyita icyaha, ariko ntabyita icyaha kuko jewe sindi pasiteri, ni icyaha gikomeye kuko mama wamufasha, kandi gukora neza ni byiza. Iyo murya mugasagura babasaba 200 mukanga kuyitanga, mukayishakira impamvu muzi neza ko ariyo yubaka iwanyu, icyo ni icyaha. Iyo bavuga ngo tugende tuje kuvuga, duhaguruke twese, narebye bano bantu sanga twohaguruka twese, twashaka ntituvuge, tukicara hariya kuri UN, tatiki dusaba ni ndende, tukicara kuri White House, mucecetse gutyo, mucecetse ntaho havuga, byovuga cyane kuruta ibyo muvugira hano hari. Muzabitekerezeho, nibazo baba ngo tugende tugenda. Reka nshimire abayobozi b'amahoro, nshimire abayobozi ba Rwanda shaka, nshimire community, nshimire imiryango, abashitsi bacu twabanye, nshimire bene wacu bose twatumiye bakatwita. Mu by'ukuri habonetse abantu bashaka kuvuga ko kino kintu cyateguwe mu buryo butunguranye, ariko mwacitabye, mwagize neza cyane. Ndashimira aba protocol bacu bahagaze kuva mu gitondo, bahagaze kuva umunsi kino gikorwa gitangira, amanama menshi. Mu izina ryabo bose ndashimira Vice President Bagaza Clement, ndashimira Gasongo mu bahano n'abandi bose babyumve, na protocol ziri hariya hanze zitigeze ziba part ya event, kugira ngo ba making sure kuko ibintu bimeze neza. Reka nshimira abanyamuhana bacu barajije abantu, mwagize neza cyane. Tunababwire ngo n'ubu nyine turacabishimiye abavuye hirya no hino, rwose mugerageze nituva hano muri break mukingura imiryango yanyu, musangire n'abavandimwe, kugira ngo tuje muri session ya kabiri mwariye. Dushimire abayobozi bacu b'amatorero duhora dusanga, tubana nabo, dusangiye abantu, kugira ngo kino kintu muze mucumva ko rimwe na rimwe kigomba naco kubahirizwa kandi kigakorwa. Reka turangize rero tubahereza itangazo rite. Mwabonye ino sale twicayemo, si nziza? Rero buri wese, kugira ngo n'ubutaha tuzayibone, muhagurukane utwo ducupa tw'amazi, tiyagira ugasiga, mugahagurukane ntikaremereye, muragasiga hariya hanze. Rero mwese oya ntimugiye guhaguruka ubu nyine, nimurangize sinje usoza kuko sinje watangije, moderateur arahari. Narivuze mu gihe muhagurukane utwo ducupa, mugize neza, mbonye muri tayari pe. Hanyuma hariya hanze hari akantu twateguye gatoya cyo kunywa, muragitora naco mu buryo bworoshe, n'akantu koroshe ushobora no gufata. Reka duhereze Paul, imiryango, famille direct ya fande wacu, ndetse n'izindi ntwari, ndetse n'abantu bacu muri rusange. Uru rugamba tuzarutsinda. Uru rugamba ni urwanyu, uru rugamba ni urwawe. Harakabaho imurenge, harakabaho abanyamurenge, harakabaho abakongomani. Twizere kuko umunsi umwe Imana izaduha igihugu ciza, yarakiduhaye, kizaduha ubuyobozi bwiza. Murakoze cyane.
Arakoze Perezida w'umuhana. Perezida hari ikintu yavuze kugira ngo abantu bacumve neza. Ubutaha, ubu ni ubwa mbere kino gikorwa giteguwe, harashobora kuba habayemo amakosa cyangwa abantu bakabona mutu tutagenze neza. Ibyo ni ibisanzwe, nta experience twari dufite. Ubutaha bizagenda neza kurushaho. Ikindi nuko birashobora kutazosubira kubera hano, twababwiye ko uyu muntu atari umuryango. Ubu mumenye ko mwashinguye. Ubutaha nikibera muri Arizona, muri Texas, uko mwitavye n'ubundi tuzasubire tugende. Nuko nigihe nanone bizoba, ntabwo ari ngombwa ko ari mwe muzotanga ubuhamya, tuzaselectinga n'abandi, ariko iki gikorwa kizakomeza gikorwe mu buryo bwiza. Twashimiye abantu baje, nabonye abantu bafashe indege benshi cyane bavuye muri Mene, nabonye abantu bo muri bayo benshi, muze kuri mwakoze kuza. Iki ni igikorwa ciza. Amatangazo makeya, twavuze ko dufite ibice bibiri. general yarataramaga ngira ngo igihe twarebaga video yiwe twageze ku ndirimbo mbona abantu bose hajemo izindi emotion nimugoroba guhera saa 12 dufite igitaramo abantu barasura ngo mwibuke mu bikorwa yakoraga byo gusengesha ubwoko. Hari umunsi muhire yavuze ko nyuma y'ibikorwa yakoze yanazungurutse abwiriza akarere kose ka ruguru. Ibyo navyo turaza kubikora nimugoroba, ni service iza kuba nziza wenda ivugirwamo ibintu biremereye abantu baze kuza kuyitabira. Nituva hano abasore bose sinzi uko tubigabanya baze gusigara muri uru ruhande, hari akantu gato baza gukora na timu yabo, hanyuma abarwanashaka bose nabo nanone ntibasohoke baje muri side. Gusa haraza kuba bamwe bari mu basore bari no mu barwanashaka, ariko abantu baragerageza barebe ubwo baramenya uko bagenda babigabanya. Hanyuma utu tuntu umuntu wagafashe nyabura ntugatahane, tuzosubira dukenerwe, ureba ahantu ugasiga hariya hanze kugira ngo bazodukoreshe ubutaha. Mwakoze kuza, twongere duhure nimugoroba. Imana ibahe umugisha.